Really quickly, before this video gets started, here's a clip of me getting an achievement on my world. You cannot get achievements on worlds that have ever been in creative, and this is my best way of showing that it's all survival. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Hello Lloyds, it is Tadpolia here, and today we are finally back for another tour of my now 8-year-old survival world. Now, for those of you who are new here, or maybe you just didn't see it, this isn't actually the first time that I've done a tour of this world. I believe it'll be the 4th time, just because so much changes from year to year that I always love to show it off, as well as there's so much that I do live on Twitch that just doesn't show up in a video. So don't worry, I'm going to show off absolutely everything in this world in the video, but if you want to see what it looked like in previous versions, maybe compare it to what it used to look like, I'll try and link those down below, as well as if you have seen the previous ones, I'm going to add chapters to the video, so feel free to skip around if there's certain parts of the world you just don't care about. But yeah, with that out of the way, one last thing, if you do go on to enjoy the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more of what I'm doing, make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to keep working on the world, and both of those things really help me out. But with that out of the way, let's get on to it. So when you join the world, the first area that you're going to start is this little spawn chunk right here. Now, I should also preface this by saying a little backstory. The world is 8 IRL years old. That's not a joke. I started it on March 27th of 2014, and I started it on the Xbox 360 edition, then I transferred it to the Xbox One edition, then Bedrock on the Xbox One, whatever that's called, and now I play it on Windows 10. So if you see any weird things, like the fact that I have 26 God Apples, because you used to be able to craft those, or the fact that my bow has both Mending and Infinity on it, don't think that this world has ever been in creative. I assure you it hasn't. That's why I showed the achievement at the beginning of the video. But there might be some little oddities, and feel free to ask about them in the comments too. But yeah, when you start off, you'll be in this little spawn chunk right here. And I actually found this originally. I don't know if it still works, because in the older versions, you used to be able... the spawn area was completely, like, safe from lava, so if you tried to come in here and place a bucket of lava, like right here, for example, it would pop up with a message that said, you can't because you're in a spawn area. And so this wasn't actually even my first spawn area to begin with. That castle over there is actually where I originally spawned in the world, but for some reason it's here now. So I went through the jungle and literally tried placing lava all around here, and that's how I got this little perimeter. And so I made a cute little box that everybody who joins my world will be stuck in, because I've just been griefed too many times. I'm not going to let people just run around. But I made a cute little trampoline that they can jump on while they wait. And while they wait, they can also read up on the rules of my world. It's nothing too crazy. It's mostly like, don't kill people, don't grief. You know, cheese is allowed unless stated otherwise by one of my friends. You know, normal things like that. But yeah, you'll basically just be stuck around here until either myself or one of my friends opens this little doorway. We would also probably give you privileges at that point, and you can run on down this hallway. Now, down this hallway, you will also notice something odd. I have multiple dragon eggs, and that's another thing that on the Xbox 360 edition and the Xbox One edition, you used to be able to reset both the nether and the end as many times as you want. And I'm not talking like just place down crystals and then like, oh, I have another dragon. I mean like completely reset it. And so I got a ton of eggs doing things like that. It gave so much XP. That's also how I got this nice head, the banners, things like that. So, I don't know. That's why this all has like a little end theme to it, because I would do that, come back, and then I'm like, well, I have the purpose, so I may as well just leave it here. But yeah, you come on through here, and assuming you don't punch one of these eggs, because we have a special spot for you if you do that, I'll let you get, you know, some basic stuff that you want to get started on. I think some tools, yeah, tools, armor, a little bit of food as well. Just some stuff that you can get started off on the world rather than have to run around and get stone. And then you can come this way. Now, if you did punch the egg, this is where things take a turn. Because I had to add this second wall around the outside too, because people would punch the egg and then just bolt and go for a run. So now we have a second layer of protection. If you punch the egg, you get sent over here to what I like to call the Shame Shack. Now, I think this was actually a video that I made as well for it. It's a little shack that is basically a little police station, where if you punch the egg, we'll come over here, you know, you'll have a little bit of booking. I don't know if we'd get your fingerprints or what all we do, but then you would come on over to the holding cell, and let's be honest, if you're coming here, you're guilty of it. So then I pull this lever, and you will fall down here into the pit of shame. And I'm not going down there because I didn't punch the dragon egg, but it's basically a pit where we just have people sit around and, you know, think about their terrible decisions. But yeah, assuming that you didn't actually punch the egg, I'll just let you walk straight out through this beautiful little gateway that I made, and you get to go on to the rest of the world. So when we come out of spawn, one of the first things you'll probably see is actually one that I finished up rather recently. A friend, I don't know, like a year or two ago, decided while I was doing a live stream, he wanted to get on here and build an Among Us shop, and I'd be lying if I said I actually knew what it was about. I believe it's supposed to be a restaurant. Yeah, it says sus right there too. I believe it's supposed to be a restaurant of some sort. Not really sure what this was about. He never actually finished it. In fact, this roof with the Among Us guy right there, I had to put the roof in place because he did like the exterior of this, and then that was basically it. He kind of left. So I don't know, weird stuff like that is all over here. But more pragmatically, over here we have a farm, which, you know, now that I hand out free food in that little area is less useful, but originally it was just meant to be a thing where, you know, obviously you can get the carrots in there, but if you want potatoes or wheat or bamboo for that matter, we have all sorts of stuff just so that you can get food and don't have to starve to death. And then all throughout here, we have a ton of skyscrapers. Now, this is going to be a theme for, honestly, the majority of my world at this point, because I think this was the second city that I ever put in my world. So, ironically, there's going to be a city over there that I show off. That was the first one I made. This one I made, I think, after I started the YouTube channel. I did, like, all of the live streams on YouTube and had a lot of fun making them. They're all pretty much empty, and you're going to see that throughout the world. It's just, yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about the look of these skyscrapers I absolutely adore, but yeah. These were a fairly new addition. If I come over here, is actually one of the oldest things that I have in my world. On first glance, it probably doesn't look all that old, and that's because we have a bunch of dark oak in here, but literally everything of dark oak that you see right here, I had to come in and plant myself. I actually did this back on the Xbox 360 edition. Before I could ever even expand my world, I found a glitch that allowed me to get some dark oak, and then I just went to town planting it all over the place. Dark oak is my favorite wood variant, and I was so excited for it, and I was so mad that I couldn't get it, but I absolutely love this. And all of this is meant to be like an eerie forest, along with this wall that I added fairly recently, actually. It's meant to be an eerie forest because this right here is the prison. Now, we don't have to use it all that much, but back in the day when people would come in and try and grief my world all the time, I wanted to have an area where I could just lock them up and then never have to deal with them again. So originally, this was in like the bottom corner of my world, so all of this wall didn't need to be here because it was just, you know, ocean as far as the eye could see, and you couldn't actually swim out to it. But nowadays, there's a bunch of stuff behind it, so I had to put this wall in place. But yeah. To get inside, I actually have this little, I thought I was real fancy because we have like a redstone door that gets you in and out. It's not that complicated, but we have the 2-door, similar for why I have it at spawn, that somehow people would always get past this one. So if you come in, where's the button? There's the button. If you come inside of here, we have, I think, this is the one, yeah, it opens that gate right there, and that leads out into where we have all of the little prison cells. Now, I don't want to show all of them off because we do actually have the names of some people who are in prison, but they all basically look a little something like this, where we have like a little chair, a little bed. We do have a toilet, and you'll notice I plugged up the bottom, because at one point I did I did have somebody in prison here, and we found them swimming out in the ocean because they got out through the toilet, which I think is funny, but we let them put their stuff in here, and apparently somebody was in here. I feel like that's been there for a while, but whatever. They put their stuff in here, and they just sort of sit around while they wait for their sentence. Usually the sentence is only like a few hours, IRL time, but if you've been really bad, we also have this little execution chamber here, where, I don't know, we say that they can have like a final word to say goodbye. We'll lock the door like that, and then we will just pull this lever, and it will drop them all the way to the bottom of the world. And yeah, we also have a little hopper at the bottom that picks up all their stuff, because, you know, a good prison always has a way to make money off of them. But yeah, and then, so that's where the prisoners would all be. And then if you were lucky enough to be working for the warden, we have a walkway that goes all the way around. It links up to the warden's office right there. And I mean like a prison warden. I know they added the new mob warden, but different thing, you know what I mean? For all of them, you can just walk around and look down. In case somebody were to escape, you can always, you know, just sit up here, sound the alarm, do whatever we were gonna do. It's a pretty basic office. Actually, it looks kind of boring now. I used to have armor stands, like, on the sides here that I had, like, diamond armor on them. It was meant to be, like, guards, and then somehow prisoners would get up here, steal all the armor, and try and fight their way out. So I kind of had to stop doing that. And now he just has a little doggy that helps to protect him. So I think it's adorable. Luckily, we do not have a lot of prisoners at this time, so I don't have to use it all that often, but for a time, I was really concerned that I would have to have them here. And again, usually you'd have to do like something really horrible if you were going to go in prison. So we'll lock both of those doors because I'll just fly my way out of here. That's basically it for the prison. And then that right there, I'll show it off very briefly because there's not much to it. I realized once we had this prison and I started to have like a wall in place, there was no real way to get in and out of the prison. So this is a little rail cart that takes you over. In my main city, which I will get to later, we actually have like a government building where we'll hear court cases, and then if you're found guilty, well, you hop on the trail and get sent over here. And that way now, you know, you can walk from right there over there instead of trying to walk people from, you know, wherever they were all the way to the prison. Because let's be honest, if you're walking from the prison, you're not just going to walk willingly. So that's about it for the prison. As we head back over this way, we actually have something I built. I don't remember if it was before or after the prison, but the prisoners absolutely love it. And that is this little gladiator arena that we have right here. Now you're probably reasonably wondering to yourself, Tadpole, why on earth would the prisoners love the gladiator arena above all? And that is because, well, it wasn't originally the plan for it. This basically ended up being the only way that people who were like permanently in prison were allowed to get out. And that was because originally we didn't try to have permanent sentences, but for people who really griefed the world, we like put them in there, locked the key, threw it away, we were good. But a few of them decided if they came here and they had a fight and it was a good spectacle, we would let the winner actually get out of prison and have a second chance. And I think we only ended up doing that like a total of 2 times, but they were some of the most fun fights that we had, and they lasted like a good 10 minutes each, because anytime we'd have a fight in the gladiator arena, you would take all of your armor off, put it in a chest, and then we would give you either iron or leather armor, and then you would just kind of duke it out. Sometimes we would give you a sword, other times we're like, nah, let's just see what happens. And yeah, I don't know, it's a weird thing. If you haven't done it in your world, I highly recommend it because it's always funny. The E in the middle is just because I don't know why. One of my live streams that I did, my chat wanted me to just put a giant E, and yeah, that's basically all that is. Nowadays, the Gladiator Arena really doesn't get much use at all because, well, for the most part, I play by myself because I've just been griefed so many times that it's just hard for me to let anybody in the world, so I usually don't, but still a fun relic of the past. And we also have, like, some concessions and other things. I say that with big air quotes because there's basically nothing down here, but, you know, the idea was there for the entire thing. But yeah, again, love looking at that view of the city. Not much to it. I mean, I can fly around it for just a second. I would show them off. Like, each building has a name. There was a story because each of these basically took like 1 2-hour long live stream to create. They were a lot of fun. Like I said, if you're not following me on Twitch, I do a lot of this kind of stuff there because I don't know, I can't really make a video for all of these. In total, I think I have about 200 skyscrapers in my world, and this right here makes up about 60 or 70 of them, as well as the ones over on this side. That right there, as you can sort of see, it's a can of beans. I don't know why. We have like a running joke in the Discord and on Twitch about beans, and we made like a fake church that we called the Church of St. Beans. And so this is literally just a giant bean can. It has copper in the middle, and you can see like it's meant to be, you know, a can that is flipped open. I don't understand it as much as you do. I just think it's funny. And this is one of the few projects. I mean, a lot of them, especially that, like, Among Us thing, you know, you'll Google something, try and find what the general shape would look like. This one I kind of just winged, and I think it turned out really well. But yeah, that's fun. Anyway, I had mentioned before that up here at this castle is what the original spawn had looked like. And the first thing you're probably noticing about the castle is, Tadpole, the castle is not finished. And it's not finished because I didn't actually create this. I think the design just looks wild. It's beautiful. I had a friend come on here and decide he was going to build this, and I'm like, go for it, because he's great at building. And he built it for about 2 days, and I think that was about 3 years ago. So one of these days I might have to finish it. But the reason I came up here is because this is actually somewhere around, I think it was like in this area, was actually what the original spawn for my world was. I believe this was like a little oak foresty area, and I haven't done a lot of clearing. Like, this hilly look to it is how it looked on its own. And so this right here is actually the original, like, spawn base that I made. It looks terrible. I made a little bridge that would take you over to this area. You'd walk on down here, and similar to how I had over there, you know, we had some armor and things and supplies that you could get. Clearly, I was not as rich before. We didn't have nearly as much to give people, but I've always wanted to give, like, a little start for it, and I think it's cute. Along with that, in the early days, I used to have a little minecart here. I have since removed it because it looks so ugly. But I had a little minecart system that would take you all the way to my little area that I lived over that way that we'll get to in a minute. I have since replaced it with the little subway here, but I leave this area up because it's just such a perfect representation of what my world used to look like. I mean, I used to have like little builds like this, and then you turn around and it's literally a city. And that's just like mind-boggling to me. And similarly to that, actually, this right here is another relic that I probably should have torn down by now, but it's just so historic, I don't think I can. This is my friend. I had a friend named Soundreal who I think I built this house and he like bought it from me. This house stands as by far the most griefed building I have in my entire world. And the reason I say that, it looks pretty fine now, but for the longest time, because it was so close to the spawn that was right there, people would just come in, you know, drop some TNT, smash through the doorway, they would ransack his house. So you can see, it's a little bit barren at the time. All of the stuff that he has in here, this was like a second starter house as well. Like, everyone would come, they'd get their spawn stuff there, but a lot of people would also come over here and take stuff, because it also had the only other farm outside of my city in the entire world. I know I have that one over by spawn, that's right over there that I showed you, but that one didn't exist until like a year or two ago. So this was the only other spot that anybody could get food, and so, yeah, a lot of people nowadays use it, you know, if they're gonna build something in the city, will just live out of this house for a few days, and I just love it. I just think it's hilarious. It reminds me of that house in Up, where, like, you know, they have the city around them and the one house that's just a holdout. I just think it's funny. Then right next to it, we also have the subway, which I feel like it doesn't do it justice when you look at it like this. Originally, I went on Google Images and tried to find a Subway sandwich shop because, you know, so comedic that I was going to make a Subway with like rails and it was going to look like a Subway sandwich shop. I know, just a gut buster with that one. We don't get a lot of a use of it now because, you know, we have Elytra and things like that. But originally, this side, I think, takes you over to my city. This one would take you over to the suburbs. And it was just an easy way for people who had just joined, after I stopped using that trail right there, that everybody could just go where they wanted to. If I'm not mistaken, this cart trail took me like a week to make just because it was so much mining and I had like terrible tools back in the day, but I absolutely love it. And then over here is another one of the inside jokes, just like that can of beans. I think we had mentioned it. Yeah, it's in the rules on the spawn area. This is just a block of cheese, because one day I was doing a live stream, and for whatever reason, my mods decided anyone who said cheese got banned. But, you know, you can't ban me, so I decided to make a block of cheese. And I have this little mouse on the inside. I think his name is Jerry. Yeah, his name's Jerry. That's what I thought. You know, Tom and Jerry, because, I don't know, weird things like this, it serves absolutely no purpose. I just think it's funny to have something like that, especially right next to my city. And yeah, over here are some of the earliest towers that we actually had. So like those skyscrapers over there, they look nice, and I do think they are a bit nicer, but the earliest ones were over this way, and then we expanded them out that way. And that is because I wanted them all to surround this right here. And this, if I fly up, is a baseball stadium. And it does not look it, but this is actually the largest single project I have ever done in my world. Not like largest size-wise, but time-wise. This thing took, I think, about 3 months to make. It basically took an entire summer. Because while all of this area looks really flat and normal, it wasn't always like this. This was actually a really massive hill that I came in with, I mean, just terrible diamond pickaxe, diamond tools, things like that. And I cleared out the entire area, made it completely flat because I'm from St. Louis. I'm a huge Cardinals fan. And so I was watching baseball with my dad that summer and decided, hey, I could play baseball in Minecraft. And so, like I said, flattened it out. I wanted to put these stripes in here too. They're really hard to see, but when you notice them, I don't know, I think that's a cool touch. I don't know that we've ever done like a proper game of it, but the way it's meant to be played is, you know, the pitcher will stand up on the mound, shoot it at the umpire. That's illegal, but whatever, we have fun with that. And since I'm a lefty, I'll bat lefty. You would pick up the arrow, pull it back, and fire it. Usually we have about 2 seconds because you don't want to, you know, just shoot it clean out the fences. And then you would have to run the bases, and it would basically have to be a home run. What would happen is the outfielder would then pick up the arrow, fire it back into the infield, and then you'd try and shoot the guy as he was running. If you hit him, he's out. If he makes it all the way back home without getting hit, it's a home run, and he scores the run. Again, not something we have really played. I don't even remember. Did I ever stock? Oh, I did kind of stock these. These are meant to be flame bows, but yeah, I tried to get it set up that we could play baseball. Never really have. Maybe we'll do that one day. But I absolutely love it, especially, that's why I put the skyscrapers in place, just because, I mean, look at that. You know, you're sitting here looking out, and I just love that view. Just like in an IRL stadium, how you would have, like, skyscrapers outside of it. I don't know. I think that's a cute thing. So with that, I think that's about everything we have right around spawn. Oh, no, that's right. We do also have one little industrial area. All the stuff that I've shown you thus far, I've been like, oh, it's so cute, or I love this, I like that. I'm going to be honest, I hate this industrial area. First and foremost, if you have any suggestions on what you think I should destroy this and build instead, I would absolutely love to hear them because I hate this area. It was meant to be like a little area where it would be like a factory town. So we have like a little hotel for visitors. This was meant to be a subway, but then I realized the subway is like 50 blocks that way, so why bother? We have a few shops for, you know, all the goodies for the workers. And then this was meant to be the factory. I was going to do like a cake factory, but then I got lazy and didn't do it. And nowadays, I just hate it. I really don't like this. If it were anywhere else, I probably would have blown it up by now. But you see how we have, you know, some infrastructure. We have a bridge that goes that way and goes all the way across. We'll be heading out that way later. That is the direction of, like, my main city. And so I can't really blow this up because it's right in the middle of that. So, like I said, if you have any suggestions for this, I hate this area so much. And I do like that I have, like, the little smoke coming out of the top, but not my best work, I'll be honest. So yeah, that's basically everything that we have just around spawn. Just to get your bearings, that right there is right above the spawn that we actually started at. So we kind of came this way, came around here, and now we're going to head north. I'm just going to fly, because why not? Towards where I have most of my main stuff. So ironically enough, this stuff is all fairly new within the past couple of years. The further out we go, kind of the older it gets. This right here was built all before I had that city in place. I call it the subscriber suburbs. After I did my first world tour of this world, I got a good number of subscribers. I think I was up to like 6,000. And so during live streams, people asked if they can join. I don't let them anymore because I've just been griefed too many times. But I used to let people join, and they would all just build their own little houses. None of it really fits together, but it has a cool story. And like, shout out to Josh Wilson's house right there. Thank you for being an OG of the channel. And people like that now have little houses in here. I didn't really build any of this, so I can't really take credit for it, but it's a cute little area, and if I fly up, it does take up a good amount of space. And then that's another thing, I did build this. Like I said with the cheese thing over there, I wrote the word cheese just because, I mean, it was a few days that they were banning anyone who said cheese. So we have this little area. That right there is where the subway actually meets up. I think this one goes to my city. Oh my. Okay, cool, there's cars coming. This one should take you to my main city, whereas this one will take you back to spawn. Like I said, originally, like, that was very useful because nobody had elytra, but nowadays, you know, it's 2 rockets and you can fly all the way back. I'm gonna fly over all of this because it's a bunch of little houses that I didn't really make. This right here was an attempt at making a mansion for myself. This I built before any of these houses were in place because I thought, you know, richy rich, I should have my own mansion out in the woods. Clearly, it's not out in the woods anymore, so it's not very impressive. I think I called it, yeah, Der Falkenkam, although I've been told by some German people that's not correct. It was supposed to be the Falcon's Nest. When you come on through here, it's not furnished. I should have furnished it. It was meant to just be a very luxurious little area that I was going to put like a dance floor in there or something. You come out here, even though we're on like a river right there, I'd have a little pool right here. You jump on into the water. There's nothing too crazy. Like I said, it was meant to just be luxury. I have as many animals as I could want. It's very big. I don't even think it's livable at this point. I just think it's a beautiful little piece of land that I built, and yeah, I don't know. And then the last thing over here before we get to my main city is I have a little church that we built over here. And that is because I always love to show it off because it has the dumbest reason for it. As all people do, I had a friend who like made his mom really mad one summer, and so while we were trying to play on the world, my friend just never actually got to join us, so it became a running joke that he was dead. So because he was so dead, we literally made this church and held a funeral for him. Yeah, we have the pallbearer taco cat right here. Yeah, he doesn't have the bones on him anymore. We filled him with bones and then, you know, had him carry him around, and basically my friend's body was on that, and then we all just sat here and we walked on up. We gave a little eulogy to our friend, and his mom literally wouldn't even let him get on the world to play with us at the time, which was hilarious to us. And then we took him over to the graveyard and literally buried his body there. So, yeah, I don't know, I think it's fun. I also don't know why I was richy rich and put a full suit of diamond armor up there. So, I don't know. This is just one of the dumb things that, like, it's not that beautiful. It's just a funny story behind it that I love. And then as we come over here, this is the original town for my entire world. So pretty much all of this stuff I have done, I don't know, within the past like 3-4 years since I started doing YouTube. Most of this stuff I did, I mean all of this pretty much before I had YouTube. So it's more just historic. This was my original house that I had built. It doesn't look all that great, but it's lovely to me. And funny enough, it's actually back to its original shape. Back in the day, I thought it would be great to have like a little horse stable attached to my house. So you can imagine I had like a little walkway attached to my house that brought you over to this. It was a mess. It looked disgusting. I have since refurnished all of this stuff, and I think it looks great. And now my horses don't have to, you know, run over to where I'm sleeping and try and lick my head to get some food. But yeah, if we go into my main house, what I also love about this was, oh yeah, I also have some signs on here that say when the world was founded, when I transferred it to the Xbox One. I don't think I have. I believe it was August of 2019 when I transferred it to Windows 10. Should probably make a sign for that, but I just don't have one. When you come in here, it looks really small and like I don't really do a lot of stuff in here. And that is because when I made this house, and for years, I was always concerned with griefing. And so because of that, at first I made this little area underneath my house so that, you know, if you came in and you tried to rob my stuff up here, well, at least you wouldn't see this. And then I became so paranoid, I built a giant little underground basement area. It's kind of a bunker. Oh, I forgot, my first axolotls are in here too. Ah, buddies, what did I name them? Bob, Apple Pie, and Water Monkey. Those are great names. We love those. I tried to make my own little, like, self-sustaining basement, so we have food there, food there. This is in case I need to make another enchanting table. Actually, I'll just do that right there. It used to be fully automatic, but now I have to push a button like a broke tadpole. And then we also have, like, an automatic cactus farm. I was just obsessed with the idea that if somebody came to grief me, I would have this area to live. And then if you come on through to the basement over here, the basement just gets even larger and larger. This right here is the first ever chest room that I'd made in my world, like a proper chest room, and the design isn't that crazy. I put this little clay and lapis thing here because I thought I was fancy. We also have a little light here that would tell me if it was daytime or nighttime because, you know, apparently I couldn't be bothered to just go upstairs. But I thought it was so fancy. I had all this stuff here. Yeah, look, iron. Ooh, an entire chest just for iron. And we have all sorts of things. I've since mostly looted it. Yeah, like 3 potions left. I've mostly looted it and moved it to my new home, which is my castle, that I'll be showing off in a moment. But I don't know. It's a beautiful little quaint area. And then you'd come through here, and this is where I would sleep. I decided if I ever got griefed, I would have like a little war room right here where my friends and I could meet. You could enchant your stuff right there. I was a very paranoid individual. And then along those lines, we also had all of my animal farms here. So we have, you know, pigs, cows, I believe, yeah, chickens, sheep right there. The sheep I only ever sheared, so that's where I got all of this wool from. And then I had all of my dogs lined up behind here. And somebody came through a few years ago. Yeah, sit down. Okay, I don't know what Clyde's doing. Because I've transferred it up through a few different versions, the dogs have since become, like, not even my dogs. And even the ones that are, like Otto here, for some reason, he's not yellow. They used, like, the yellow one used to be yellow, the orange one, orange. I used to have all of them color coordinated, but for some reason, they're just not anymore. And apparently, who's that? That's Queen Jemima. Okay, apparently King Titus is gone as well. But yeah, I had them here just in case, you know, I was over there and got attacked. They would come to my rescue. Like I said, I was a horribly paranoid individual. And so this entire bunker was basically made in case I got griefed that I would have an area to live underground. And it originally started actually over here. So this I have since blown up, I guess. I don't know what happened to it. This was meant to be an armory back in the day. I had chests that were lined up like here and here and here, where I would have all of my best armor in case, again, I got killed and needed to come back and get it. I would have all of that there. I guess I just came through and ruined the area because it's just nothing now. But more importantly, I also had a little, like, potion brewing area right here, even though I hate making potions and never do. The American flag, just so you'd feel patriotic. And then if you come through here, this is one of my more destroyed rooms. I wonder, is it still in place? A little bit, yeah. I originally made this to fight the Wither back in the day because I don't know if he ever didn't break obsidian, but I believe it's, like, harder for him to break obsidian. So I made a little room where I could fight the Wither as many times as I want. As you can see, I have effects right now because I have beacons up above. And then right off of the Wither fighting room, I also had a room up here that just had, yeah, all of the stuff that I would need, especially like a god apple. Actually, I'll take that with me. I just had all the stuff that I needed in case I wanted to fight him. You know, like a rabbit's foot and tropical fish. I don't know. This was meant to be backup armor in case it ever killed me. And yeah, so all of this stuff is fairly minor. I just think it's hilarious that, like, first of all, I have this as, like, my own little bunker. This was meant to be, like, with the food, with, you know, things to do, potions, stuff like that. It was meant to be fully self-sustaining. And also, I have it in a complete circle, so it goes all the way around here, comes back here. In case I was getting chased, I could just run them in circles. I'm telling you, I was paranoid. And all of that links right up with my mine that I have right here. I actually don't remember. I think I built the mine before that house was ever actually finished. It's just right next door, and at a few points, it crosses up with my house. So, like, here's my main basement, and I used to have a minecart that would take me down and up because I was too lazy to take the stairs, and for some reason thought that was a better idea. The mine down here, there's nothing crazy to it. Like, obviously, this is where I got most of my first diamonds. It's a pretty basic strip mine that I had created. Don't think that these doors were something that I had in there to begin with. I definitely added these later after the fact to make it look fancier. And it goes all the way down. It goes actually rather far. I believe it meets up with the new mine that I made later on, which I'll show off later as well. Because, I mean, it makes this look like chump change. But yeah. And then also going down here, assuming that I would never see the overworld again. Oh, I forgot about this room too. This was, I believe, a friend of mine. Yeah, I made a little dungeon lair for him. I don't know why. He wanted to, like, live in a cave. So that's what this is. I'm not a big fan of it. I haven't been down here in forever, though. What is it? Oh! Yeah, okay, it is, like, meant to be a little dungeon. This was, I don't know why, we had some ideas of grandeur about ourselves, to where we thought, like, oh, we could be essentially Batman and live in a cave down here. That was never going to happen. I forgot about that. But yeah, this is what, so I'm not the only crazy one. Does he have, yeah, he has a little stuff down here. I wasn't the only one who thought about griefing, so I had a few friends that also wanted to live down here with me. But more importantly, I had this little room, which I used to fight mobs. Now, originally, it was not meant to fight mobs. I initially did it just so that I could have an area to grow mushrooms. I don't ever use mushrooms, so I don't know what I was even thinking with that. But now, just a ton of mobs spawn in here, and I spent many moons fighting them off. Yeah, you can see all the stuff that I've had to kill based on that. And yeah, but nowadays we have, I'm not actually going to take it right now, but in due time, I did create this little thing that would take me over to my XP farm. I will show that one off later, just because it's later on in the city, but yeah, I guess I didn't really need that much anymore. And that's about it for most of the stuff in the underground of my house and in my mine. Oh, wait, no, except for one thing. This is what I actually created for my little basement down here. And the annoying thing was I actually ended up having to build this out as well. Don't think that this looks how it did. I have completely renovated this basement. I only show this off because I have a friend who literally built a lag machine down here just to make me angry, and so I've completely taken over his house. We have all of the stuff that I've gotten from doing villager trades, which the villager farm is right over there. I've completely taken over his house because, gosh, I forgot about that. He would come in here and just lag up the world as much as he could just to make me mad, and of course he was my neighbor for that. So, yeah, so that's my main house. That's my neighbor's house. This is a bit of a cursed house. I believe it's had 4 or maybe 5 owners. I built the house, but it's had 4 or 5 owners, and now it's owned by my cat, who I believe does not exist anymore. I don't know what happened to him. Yeah, he's gone. My cat died, I guess. The house has been owned by several people over the years, and for some reason, every time someone got it, they would just ruin it, and then I would be out that house and I'd have to rebuild it. So it's kind of neat how it is. And this right here is also, it used to be the tallest building that I made, and it was the first building that ever had a beacon in it. So this is the first ever beacon that I got in my world. I don't know why in like the really early days. I believe I built this just after my house. I decided I wanted to have a lighthouse, and when I look at it now, it is one of the more horrendous things I've ever built, but it just looks so nostalgic. I mean, it looks like something you would have made back in 2014, and I love it for that. But yeah, that's the way that you take over to the little villager farm that I have. And this looks very different than when I originally created it. I think I redid it for a video. Originally, this used to be a villager trader that, I don't know if you guys remember, nowadays every villager has to have 1 bed. But in the olden days, it used to be, I think every villager had to have a door. So I used to have a structure that was like 5 stories high, that was just an obnoxious thing that had a ton of doors in it. And so I tore that down and built this little thing. We have, I think, my mending villager here, efficiency. I don't know what all these guys do. They all have books that I like, as well as I have my little breeder going on right down in there where I can get more villagers. it is obnoxious getting these villagers, and funny enough, I have all of these here. The majority of my villagers actually don't even live in this thing anymore. If I ever need to get more books, I did, about a year ago, one of the dumbest projects I have ever made, and that is, I covered an entire mountain in, can you see it yet? I covered a mountain in amethyst. I don't know why I did that, but, well, I love the amethyst block, and it just sounds beautiful when you walk on it. So, for a video, I decided to cover it in amethyst, and I believe it sparked, like, the beginning of a creature that I created in my world called the Amethyst Fairy. Don't worry about that. But I covered it in amethyst, and then I realized, oh, I probably ought to do something with it. And so, down here, in the bottom, there's a cute little entrance, and this is where all of my good villagers live now. Really, that other one's obsolete. If anything, I should just tear it down, because I have my own villager breeder here, and 5,000 IQ, I even have a way to get them out of the villager breeder, unlike in the other one. But, yeah, I keep forgetting about little things like this. Oh, and that, too! I have a little, outpost that I made over here. Or, no, this is a vault, that's right. I built a dumb little vault over here that, gosh, how long ago did I think I did this, like, 2-3 years ago. That, for some reason, I was just worried that I was going to get robbed, or maybe I did get robbed or something, so I just made, like, a mound of diamonds over here, and then this is, oh, do I remember how to get to it? Is it, what, do you break this block? Nope, you don't break the block. Oh, it's gone forever. Okay, I don't know what I did. Oh, there's a little button there. You can go down in there, and then basically the bottom would fall out and the person would die. That's all that was supposed to be. Man, I forgot about a bunch of little builds that I made like this. I love this cave. It's absolutely gorgeous. So if you're ever trying to hide your diamonds from people, make an eerie cave like that. But back in my main village, I think there's one more house that I haven't shown off yet, and that is this one right here. I don't even remember who owns it right now. It's not quite as cursed as Simon's house over there, but this one has had like 3 or 4 different owners over the years. Oh, it's for sale. Okay, nobody owns it right now. I think the last person who had it, I don't remember if they tried to steal from me or what, but they all but left the server because of it. Yeah, and they left all their stuff in here too. Okay, that's fun. We like that. But yeah, that'll about do it for the little houses. And then the last thing I really have to show off, well, aside from this little farm village that I made here, is we have a lovely farm, and then in the background you can start to see this is my main city. I love the farm, so I don't want you to, like, brush over it just like that. It was the biggest farm I had ever made. I have made much larger ones now. But I remember when I first made this farm, I was baffled that, like, I could farm this, and then 1 week IRL, I just didn't have to farm again. So, lovely farm design. Absolutely love it. But then we came across the river. So originally I wanted to fill up this entire island, and after my friends started building houses here, I decided, hey, why on earth should I stick it out with these little houses? I'm Richie Rich. So I crossed the river here. I made a cute little bridge. I love this bridge too. And the first thing that I built here, I believe, was this pyramid. And I think it's lovely. At the time, I think I was learning about ancient Egypt or something. Thought it would be beautiful. Another cursed house that I tried to get my friends to live in, and everyone who's owned it has at some point just given up on it. Yeah, they even took... Oh, I guess they left some stuff in the chest. Good for them. It doesn't serve much of a purpose. Nowadays, I guess I just take frogs in there when I'm doing other things. And that leads us to probably my most used build in the entire world, and that is my castle right here. Now, right up front, you'll notice I made this cute little sign, and I also have a sign that says 10,000 up above what I like to call Swirl Tower. These were just things to mark, you know, when I hit my first 1,000 subscribers as well as my first 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think they're absolutely beautiful. They're very sentimental to me. So even if they're a bit of an eyesore, especially the fact that I put it right outside of my little castle here, I don't care. I think it's lovely. But when you enter into the castle, one thing that I also want to show off, we have a horribly incomplete map, but this will kind of show off where we've been thus far. So we have like the little spawn area right here, and then we walk around, the prison's out this way, gladiator arena up to like the baseball stadium, and we are over in, well, yeah, right about here. And it'll just show you, I have an entire city that surrounds this thing. Much like what I did for the gladiator arena, I absolutely love when you're just in a big open space and you can look around and see these towers. It's just my favorite. So in my castle, I suck at interior design, so I don't know what to do for this main floor. For the majority of like the walls and stuff, back when I streamed on YouTube, anybody who donated while I was streaming got their name put on a sign on the wall. Nowadays, I name brown mushrooms after people, so that's fun too. And then, I don't know, I decided to put some of my bougiest armor on here. We have the queen of all of the dogs, Maya, sitting on my throne here. But this is not the reason that I love this little area. First of all, this is the first area where I decided to put multiple beacons in one spot. And so I used to be unkillable in this spot. I don't know what's happened. I've died several times in the castle nowadays, but it is what it is. And down here is where we have my main storage area. Now, I think at last count, I have over 1,000 chests in this area. I don't really remember. Anything and everything that I could want in this world, I can eventually find in here. You know, like, I have a bunch of slime balls, things like that. This took forever to set up, and I've been made fun of so many times that it's not an automatic farm. But I love it. I mean, it's literally anything I could possibly want is in here. And better yet, because of how many chests there are, when other people try and join the world, it lags out so bad that, like, my chests, you can't steal from them because they can't even open my chests. I have to come down here and get things for them. And so this half is what I mostly used. In the past couple of years, I added this section of the chest area, and I haven't done much with it. I think we have, like, some excess... Yeah, wait, where is it? Yeah, there we go. Some excess for my XP farm. Not a lot for this area. I probably ought to do something. But I'm more impressed nowadays by this area down here. I think I added this a year or two ago. Originally, the basement of this was literally just like a cave. Absolutely disgusting. And so I came down here, I added a new and improved little enchanting area, as well as... Much like I had the bunker underneath my main house, I also have, like, my own little bunker down here. So if I ever need food, I got food for days, as well as, you know, I have mushroom because they're my favorite mob. Well, I guess aside from axolotls now. But originally, they were my favorite mob in the game. I got another automatic cactus farm, some more sugarcane that we can get right there. And this one is a fully automatic chicken farm. I don't remember how I made it, but I'm so glad that I did, because it's literally just automatic food. But yeah, and then in there I have my new and improved bedroom, which I think is my favorite bedroom that I have ever made. I have a cute little desk, I have my own little bed and stuff right there, and I can always look out at all the things that are going along in my world. And it also looks out onto all those times I was talking about the minecart. I swear my minecarts do actually lead up to my castle. This is where they lead up. Oh, I don't think I've shown off the bottom though. In case you were wondering, yes, I did fully mine this out. Like I said, I think it took like a full week to mine all of this out and get this going. Very expensive. It must have taken a ton of gold and redstone, but not my problem now because it's already built. And again, I don't really use it all that much, but for people who don't have elytra, you know, if they want to get to spawn or go to the suburbs, they have a way to do it there. This little room, I think both of these are little throwaways. We have my little kitty corner with Artemis the cat, as well as I have a lovely swimming pool that I definitely use all of the time. That has its own little, well, it has a diving board as well as my own little lifeguard. This is one of the weirder builds. I don't remember why. Doesn't it have a special name to it? Yeah, it's the Jubbin's Jacuzzi. I think this was one, when I was building this little underground area on a stream, I believe my chat wanted me to make a jacuzzi, and that's the only reason that this exists. And then over here, I have a lovely fish tank. I built this before axolotls were in the game, so I definitely should get some of them in there. As well as I have a lovely little armory in here that doesn't serve much of a purpose now. Oh, yeah, I have just, like, backups of all my armor and things like that. But for the most part, I don't really need to come in here. It's just... Come on, that's a beautiful room. And then down here is how you get to my XP farm. It's literally just a room where I come down here and punch skeletons, so it's all the way down there. I'm not really going to show it off because it doesn't really matter. I just want to show off this iceway because I think it's absolutely beautiful. And that is how I got to the 69 levels that you see before you. Oh, and then one last thing before we leave. I also thought I was 5,000 IQ play by adding this little area, yeah, under construction, where I have all of my goodies to safeguard from anybody who might want to steal from me. So... don't tell anyone that you saw that. And then the final part of my basement that I've actually probably spent the most time is right over here. Now, it looks very unassuming when you first walk in. Most of the caps of, like, the ending of each of these rows has all the exact same thing. It's just a bunch of furnaces and anvils, some crafting tables, basically anything I could need. But this one right here is the only one that's different. And that is because at the very bottom of my world, right under here, I have created probably the biggest mine that I've at least ever seen. You just jump down here to these little slime blocks, and actually before I get too far ahead of myself, I had said earlier that it links up with my previous mines. You can see right along here, I believe it's actually that way, it links up to the original mine that I had shown you before. I didn't mean for it to do that. When I was originally creating this, I accidentally like ran into the mine right there, and I'm like, you know what, I may as well just keep it. But yeah, we have all of these chests here that have all of this stuff, but who really cares about that? More importantly, I created this back on the Xbox 360 edition because right now it probably doesn't look that insane because you can actually see like the outside walls. When I originally created this, I don't think it was necessarily the entire size of the Xbox 360 edition world, but it was at least the majority of it. I mean, this went so far in my original world. It goes under almost the entire city. Again, nowadays it really doesn't look that big because you can see all of the corners of it, but this got, I mean, thousands upon thousands of blocks of stone. I have more diamonds than I could ever know what to do with, and yeah, I don't know. And right here it has a few relics of the past as well. In the original sized world, I don't know, I was just concerned about having rails, and you may have noticed how many rails I had. That is because I made this wild rail duplicator. Originally, it would have this little contraption here that I don't know if it still works. You would flip this lever, yeah, and it would just move it forward and backwards, and then there were rails on top of this that would just shower down, going into these anvils, and then I didn't know what to do with all of the anvils, and so I made this just absolutely wild contraption where I could fill up the chests with these rails. Probably not the most efficient way of doing it. It would just have minecarts that were continuously running, and they have since become a bit of a problem. And then this is another problem that I have now. Sometime between changing it, I think I made it on the Xbox One edition, and now that it's up on Windows 10, I used to have a slime farm that worked. I believe the area that it's on is no longer a slime chunk, but in the original size world, when I created it, I would just have slimes galore that were spawning here, and so I made this big ol' room that hopefully one day will decide to start working again, because it took me like a week and a half to build this. But it was basically just a bunch of platforms that slimes would spawn on, and because it was lit up, I would have nothing else spawn, and they would all kind of just flow down into here, and I'm not going to go down there because I don't want to die. There would be some lava that would break up the really large slimes, get them all the way down to their baby form, and then I could just smack them once. And so that is why, you know, especially over at the spawn area where I have just a ton of slime, this is where I originally got it. Sadly, you know, there's not a lot of use for slime in general, and I don't really have an ample supply of it, but yeah, I don't know. This is just like, a mine like this, I feel like you just don't see that much nowadays, and I'm so proud of it. But yeah, so hopefully seeing that, you kind of understand why I just have so many chests. I mean, I don't think I even did it justice. Like, this entire area right here, you know, all of these chests along with these were all of the dirt that I held in the world, as well as, like, that entire row is cobblestone. Hopefully you understand now, because of that mine, why I felt the need to have it. But yeah, that'll about do it for the castle. I have that main entrance that you could walk in, as well as I was working on a bunch of the skyscrapers around it, I made this little back exit. I think originally, yeah, I used to have a horse here. I don't know what happened to him. His name was Zeus. This is somebody else's horse. Who is it? Oh, that's right, Olive. Yeah, that's right. She had come on here and decided she wanted a horse as well. So, yeah, I used to ride those around the city as well. Again, I used to play this so much before I had Elytra, and obviously things have changed as of recent. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad. There's not a lot to show off for the rest of this city. Most of these skyscrapers are completely empty because, you know, once you build a few of them, you realize, you know, if this is, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If this is 10 stories tall, it's really hard to fill each and every one of those floors with a bunch of things. So we kind of gave up on that a while ago. My favorite thing is just to sort of fly between the buildings and just get an absolutely lovely view of them. All of them technically have a name and have a story that we originally tried to give it, but I've since forgotten quite a bit of that. The only ones that really are furnished are these two right here. And that is because this tower right here, technically it's not the first of all of the skyscrapers. The first one right there is that one that I like to call Swirl Tower, and it's also around that. I'm purposefully not going over there. This area right here, actually I think this predates before we had any of the skyscrapers. It's a graveyard that I made that I'm not showing off because it has the names of like IRL people that I know that have died, like when my uncle died, when my grandma died, people like that. I put their real names in here, so I'm not going to show it off. Oh, as well as, you know, the big ass, but I don't remember why. It was a video or something I had seen, and I thought it was just a great idea to make, you know, a large tower like that. Originally, it stood on its own before we had any other skyscrapers, and then back in 2014, before Donald Trump ever tried to run or anything like that, I always wanted to, like, preface it with that. I had gone to Chicago and I saw Trump Tower there, and I loved the idea of just having a big tower with a T on it, because I'm Tended Tadpole. Again, it had absolutely nothing to do with politics, still has absolutely nothing to do with politics. I just love it, and especially since my name is Tended Tadpole too. This was the first, like, proper skyscraper that I made, and I kind of tried to furnish it when I had made it. Like, I thought I'd be real fancy. We made, like, a reception area, and then at one point, not so much this floor, especially the ones up towards the top where you see those signs, I decided I was going to try and, like, rent out or let people buy individual floors. It did not go very well, but a few people did give me some diamonds, just so that they could, like, have their name on a sign and claim that they own the floor. I think the very top floor, yeah, up here, I originally tried to make, because I didn't have much of a chest room down there, or not a chest room, a trophy room down there, I decided up here I wanted to have all of my best stuff. So yeah, I tried to have some armor in case, I don't know, I got attacked and wanted it to be in there. And as well as, this is where I put one of the first eggs that I had gotten, as well as some of the first heads that I had gotten, which took me much longer than it should have to get each of these. And this one looks a little bit wonky. More so is this right here. It is WCPM Tower. It is also the tallest of all the towers, because my tower obviously is very tall to begin with, because I wanted it to be taller than the Swirl Tower. But as my friends decided they were going to make some as well, you will notice this was the second one, followed by that one, followed by that one. We just kept making the skyscrapers taller and taller, because people wanted to have the tallest tower in the world. Obviously, nobody beat mine. But to get around that, we decided, let's stop all of the bickering. And so we all came together, and our clan at the time for, like, Call of Duty or whatever was called WCPM. So we built this tower, and it is called WCPM Tower, that all of us sort of have some claim to. I'm not going to show off all of the floors as well, because this one we actually did kind of try and furnish. This is just the best one, because it's the one that I furnished. It's a little room that... It was more so meant to be, like, if we were going to have business meetings or things like that, I just wanted a little area where, I don't even know why I have potions. I never made potions. You have, like, some potions, basically a room to sleep, and then, yeah, I don't know, kind of like an entertaining room. But more importantly, up here at the very top, all of us had our own chair around this big table, and then these were the individual banners that we all decided to make for our own country. I believe that one in the middle is my flag? I don't entirely remember. I think that was my friend Ty, Gnarly, Salbert, and Young. I think that sounds about right. For any of my friends that actually are watching this, you guys can correct me, but we made this little table where we could all come up and, you know, discuss the little events that we had going on. Despite all of my doomsday prepping that it sounded like I did before, this table we actually did come up here and have some meetings. Like, after we built this tower, this is where we decided this was going to be the tallest tower in the world. Obviously, it doesn't get a lot of usage now, but I don't know. I just think that's like the one tower that actually has some story to it. And then the rest of these are just sort of meant to be beautiful. And I do think they're beautiful. It's just none of them are furnished, and I get so much flack for that because I just cannot take the time now. I mean, it would be literally thousands upon thousands of rooms that I would have to furnish. And I just think it looks nice having them all around here. But, yeah, that's mostly it for these skyscrapers. Again, if you want me to ever make a video, like, flying through or explaining each of the skyscrapers, I would be happy to if I could remember them. I just don't think I would. Across this bridge, though, because it was so close to the city, and back on the 360 days, there were so few areas where you could find a new land. This was, I mean, just adjacent to the city, so we decided this is where we would have all of the government buildings. I believe, so that little city right there is called, like, Tadpolia or New Tadpolia. So this we called Tadpolia and Federal Island, and so it only has the two buildings that aren't that useful anymore. The first one over here is a bank. Yeah, it's the Federal Bank. For what it is, I think it's very pretty. You'd basically walk in and talk to the teller, and then on the other side is meant for the people who are actually working here. This bank has been robbed more times than I know what to do with. I don't know, are the diamonds still in here? Oh yeah, they still are. Okay, so I held a notes app, like, on my phone, because I have an iPhone, and I would put in here how many diamonds each person has, and so this was meant to be like a storage vault. Well, yeah, you can see somebody put golden carrots in here instead of diamonds, but this was meant to, yeah, I don't know what happened, meant to hold, like, the currency of the world, because for, like, the skyscrapers and things like that, I would typically make them, but if somebody else wanted to make one, I would charge people for, because like I said, none of this was ever flat. I had to clear out the land and then put the roads in and things like that. So I would charge people diamonds to buy up the plot of land where they could build the skyscraper. So that was mostly the reason that we had these diamonds. And then I think we have a few more up there. I'm amazed that the diamonds are still in here because it has been robbed more times than I know what to do with. But now that more people don't really play on it, it's kind of just a relic of the past. And I don't know, I think it's beautiful. And then this over here is another building that we did actually used to use. It's called the Nonagon. It's because, you know, like the main government building for the United States is called the Pentagon, and it's 5 sides. So this was meant to be a 9-sided building. I know, I just had to one-up my own government, but it's very empty on the inside. The only 2 things that we really have here are we have like some holding cells, as well as this is the transfer cart. When I showed off the prison at the beginning of the video, this is where it links up. So if you're found guilty of a crime, you know, you get locked in. Well, I guess first you'd get locked in here, and then you would come on over this way where we have our little courthouse. It didn't serve a big purpose. It was mostly so if, like, 2 of my friends were having a disagreement, I would sit up here because I'm the king of the world. We'd have the prosecution and the defense. They would just argue their case, and then eventually I'd pick one of them. But for the potential griefers, they would also come in here. Usually they wouldn't sit willingly, so it was straight off to prison. But if they would, we'd hold like a little trial for them. And then they would come on over here. They'd sit in that little minecart. We'd click the button, and they'd get sent off to Timbuktu, where they would go to the prison. And on the upstairs up here, this really wasn't meant to serve a purpose. The judge meant to have an office in here, which I'm the judge, so this was mine. I really ended up creating this because my friend Gnarly at the time was absolutely flat broke in the world. He had no diamonds, and so he wanted to build his own skyscraper over here, which I love this view of all the skyscrapers, but he didn't have enough money to actually get his own plot, because I think I charged 15 diamonds at the time, because, I mean, I would, like, break a pickaxe on every one of these plots, essentially, because the hills went up to, I mean, potentially, like, that height. It took forever to break them. And so we decided that his job was going to be, you know, he can be a secretary for the judge of the world. And it's a cute little office, I like to think. I more so just built it because, I mean, come on, I can't get over this view. And, yeah, that's about it for the government. The government didn't do a lot. More so what we would do is, the bank I was using so that I could get diamonds from people, like, for tax purposes, and then I would use that money to pay people, like my friend Gnarly, if he would help me clear out a plot of land. And, yeah, I think the only other really interesting thing that we have in this city is over here. This is like one of the only naturally respawning ravines that I had on the 360 days, and so I didn't really realize it was here because this was sort of off in the corner of the world, because I know it's only like a few hundred blocks from where my stuff was over there, but in the original like 1,000 by 1,000 block world of the Xbox 360, I mean, this was miles away. So I eventually found this and thought, oh, this would be cool to put like a little mall down here. We didn't do a lot of that. I believe all of these shops I put in place. We have, like, a little restaurant, like, tavern type place that, I don't even know, is there anything down here? No, nothing down here, lovely. This I put in, I think, within the past few years. It was not one of the original ones. The first and only real useful one is called the Block Shop. This was after I had made my original chest room, and I sort of ran out of space. I came over here, and yeah, I would just throw, like, extra blocks that I had, extra shulker boxes that I had. Anything that I had just lying around, I would throw in here so that people could come in and buy it. Since then, it's kind of fallen into disarray because people just steal from my castle anyway. So, not the most useful shop. I love this. I think it's a cute little design. This right here, it's a little bit crass. I got it from watching Futurama, and in one of, like, the first episodes, they had a suicide booth. And so, again, I know it's a little bit offensive now, but I thought, you know, back in my younger years that I thought that it would be funny. You basically walk in, stand there, and then eventually, yeah, that would fall out. You would fall to your death. And then over here, similar to the way that we had the execution chamber, you just go down there, we could collect their things. And that's technically how we made money off of it. Probably shouldn't keep that around because it's a little crass, but I don't know. It was something that I thought was interesting at the time. And then, oh, no, that's right. We do have one other shop. Back in the early days, I mean, even now, I almost never use maps in my world. So this map right here, one that I had, like, similarly in my castle, I didn't actually make the original versions of that map. My friend Ty, for some reason, decided he wanted to start making maps and things like that. So he came on down here because I think I bribed him to make a shop. And he decided he would be our little cartographer to make maps for us. So I believe this is the one that I used to get my first ever achievement. I think on the Xbox worlds, you could get an achievement by having like a 3x3 map. I don't know if that's still a thing. I just remember that this is how I got that achievement, so shout out to Ty for that one. And then I think that's it. This was meant to be like an escape room. I don't know if it ever became one. No, it literally just leads into a mine shaft. It's not an escape room. That's just a mine shaft at that point. But yeah, like I said, this mall wasn't much of anything. It was just an attempt at making one that I thought would be neat. And one of the last things that we actually ever worked on in this city because, you know, once we got the skyscrapers out of the way, we were sort of just grasping at straws. Other than, oh, no, that's right. I haven't shown off this side of the city as well. Love flying through all the skyscrapers. Once we made a bunch of the skyscrapers, we had this little nub of the city left over, and rather than adding even more, which I most certainly could have, given how many of them I built, my friends decided that they wanted me to start making, like, mansions. I think I made the first mansion, but my friend gave me the idea for it, where, you know, when you have, like, a richy rich city like this, like in New York, to have a mansion in that means that you're absolutely rolling in it. So we decided to build a few mansions here. This is my friend Gnarly's that his is actually like the most furnished. He did try and live here for a little bit. Yeah, you can see he has some of his stuff still sitting around. He has his dogs right there. Nothing crazy. It's just, oh, I forgot. I accidentally blew up a part of it. Sorry about that, Gnarly. I don't know that he's ever actually found it. Originally, I had a skyscraper there. Or not a skyscraper. I had my mansion right there. But I hated the way it looked. I think if you watch the original world tour, you can see it there. But I hated it, so I blew it up, and that's why there's that hole right there. And instead, I put a giant statue of myself in place, because, you know, I'm narcissistic like that. Oh, if you can see, yeah, it's my skin, basically. I since have redone it, though. I built another mansion right over here. I believe this was done in the early days of when I used to stream on YouTube. I built like this little mansion. I thought it was a cute design. It doesn't do much now other than store some, I don't know if they're called skeleton horses or what they are. I found them while I was building it and I thought it would be neat. I think I have a little bit of storage up here or something. Yeah, at some point I had the idea that I might end up living here. That never came to fruition and I have absolutely no intention of living here, but you know, I thought it was a neat design and I still think it's a very beautiful design. If you ever want to take it, feel free to build one like it. And then the last thing over here would be this cake. It doesn't serve any, like, actual purpose. It was meant to be sort of a little... Oh, whoops, I gotta break this. It was meant to be sort of like a little museum-type thing. I believe it was on the 6th or 7th birthday of my world. I decided I wanted to make a cake because I had never actually celebrated the birthday of the world. And so I think I did it for a video. I came in here and I grabbed like the first block that I placed, the first tower block that I used. Basically something that I did for each and every year that I had it. Yeah, so like for the first world tour of my world as well as like when I got the axolotl. So it doesn't mean a ton now. I think it's very cute. Oh, I guess I forgot to put something in because it's 8 years now. We'll have to do that at some point, but... It's very beautiful, and also shout out to Gnarly. I believe he's the one who gave me the design for this. So, turned out beautiful. Absolutely love it. So, that'll about do it for my city. I do have a few extra tiny builds just kind of scattered all the way around here. Like, right here we have... It was meant to be a police station because people would commit crimes and, like, steal stuff in the city. We never actually did anything with it because, you know, I had the Nonagon right over there where I could literally just send you to prison anyway. I do have a few things over here. None of it was ever really finished. I just had a lot of ideas that I thought were fun to add over here. So the first thing, at least the most obvious thing to me, because it's the only one that's a weird color, is it's called the Glizzy Glob Shop. I don't know why during a live stream people told me they wanted me to make a giant hot dog. So I did, and it's a little, like, yeah, it's called the Glizzy Glob Shop. You can come over here, buy some hot dogs. I don't even know who runs it. I don't think it's had a single sale ever. And then we have a bunch of little seats around here, and my friend John decided he wanted to make the, like, dancing coffin meme. I have no idea how this works. It just looks funny. More importantly, though, and I think one of the larger builds, larger single builds, at least, that we have anywhere in the world, is this right here. Nowadays, it's meant to be a hospital. When I originally created it, it was supposed to be a mall. I ended up moving it to the ravine later, but originally when I made this design, you can sort of see like the walkway of it with a fountain in the middle. Not the most conducive for a hospital, but when I moved the mall, I'm like, well, I gotta do something with it. So we kind of tried to make a hospital, but the issue is all of the rooms are just so large, it was hard to furnish all of them. Like, I think, a waiting room is like the only thing I ever actually did. And then we tried to give like positions, like friends of mine could become doctors in here. It was a bit of a mess. I know it looks kind of done on this floor, but literally you go to the second floor and you realize none of it's furnished. It's just a bunch of little rooms that I made that do absolutely nothing. Oh, I guess I did furnish a few of them. Oh, wow. I did not realize that. Okay, interesting. I forgot about this. Wow. Oh, and through those windows as well. Yeah, you can sort of see the amethyst mountain that we put right there. As well as, I covered another one in tuff. That one just never made it into a video. And, like, when you look at that, it kind of looks like stone or cobblestone. So nobody can tell the difference. I covered this entire mountain in the tuff block. It's just, nobody really cares. But, wow, I didn't realize I had furnished this. Okay, let's see. How much of this did I furnish? I even have a surgery room. Okay, I forgot about the... I must have done this during, like, a live stream or something. I wouldn't have just done this on my own, but interesting. Yeah, we have never actually had any patience because, believe it or not, in Minecraft, you don't actually have anybody who has to come in and, like, get a surgery done, but it was a neat idea at the time. I definitely bit off more than I can chew. Maybe someday I'll come back to that, but yeah, sort of a neat building. And then up at the top, we have absolutely... Oh, come on, I couldn't land up there. Up at the top, we have absolutely nothing. I actually used to use this as, like, its own little mob spawner. Before I had, like, a proper XP farm, I would just run around killing stuff, and yeah, I thought it was cute. And I think the last thing that we have in the city in its entirety, I know that I've said that a few times now, is this house right over here. And it's not an impressive house, it's actually a very basic one. This was just the first ever house that we had in the world that I properly sold off. I came over here, or no, I think actually one of my friends built it. When we first came over here and I started building up this entire city, my friends decided, you know, I couldn't be the only one who had my castle there, which was my house at the time. So my friend, I believe Ty made it. He came up here on the hill, built what I think is a very cute little house. And this one has been sold off, I think, 3 or 4 times. People have gotten the house and then sold it to someone else because, I mean, it's prime real estate. You're very close to the original town as well as the new city, and yeah, it's little stuff like this, like buying and selling houses. When you have skyscrapers, nobody cares about buying or selling an individual house, but that's one of my favorite things that we used to do in the world. Like, when that house over there says for sale, it literally is for sale. People would sell their houses for like 30 diamonds or something like that, and oh, I just love it. That's pretty much everything that we have in the city thus far. If we go out this way, I sort of have like my own little single project. In my world, everything that you've seen thus far is owned by me. Obviously, because it's my world. But as I started to build up this city here, my friends decided that, hey, I mean, they deserve to have their own little countries too. So when we transferred the world to the Xbox One edition, I agreed to let my friends have their own countries as well. And so one of my oldest friends, Gnarly, who I believe he was the first one to ever technically get his own country. Well, no, somebody else actually got a country before him. But he was the one who really wanted his own country. So I built this bridge that led out here. And this was originally meant to be his country, which we call Rexington. Now, it is no longer called Rexington because he decided on this area that he wanted for his country. I built up what I think is a beautiful bridge that goes over there. And then he spent 5 minutes here and decided he didn't want this to be his country. So instead, I have filled it up with a bunch of little houses. I call it like the snowy suburbs. It's meant to be like a little getaway area where people can come, and we haven't done a lot with it. Last year, I decided I was going to try and make it like a Christmas village. So I added like a little ice hockey rink over here, which is cute. I think it's nice for what it is, as well as I tried to get a little Christmas tree in here, and then I decided against it and got too lazy to do it, but it's a beautiful, quaint little area. I love it. It just seems like, you know, if you had some rich people from New York City, they would love to take a little stroll out here, spend the holidays up north, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cute little village. Not much to it. Nobody actually lives here. It's just a fun little one-off project, and the bridge is just too nice to not show off. So from that, as we head back, we're sort of going to have to hop around quite a bit because after we made my city, you know, after my little village over there and connected it over there, all of my friends decided that they wanted to sort of make discontinuous little cities, so we had to put a lot more infrastructure in, and we're actually going to have to go to the Nether if we want to find the rest of them. And I showed it off a little bit before, but the main Nether portal that we have in my world is actually just in the basement of my original little starter house. I literally have not made another one in this entire area since, partially because, you know, obviously if you make the portals too close to each other, they connect, but more so because I just love having to run back to my little house because it gives it some utility. So this right here is my main Nether hub. I've redone this, I think 3 times now. I'm mostly happy with this addition, but I don't know, if you have any better suggestions, this one still scares me because ghasts like that, yeah, they get so close to the portal, and it scares me. So we tried to make it so that when you got to the Nether, you would only ever have to go in the cardinal directions to go around. And basically the rest of my world is oriented around this city, so we have tunnels that lead to north, south, really nothing that goes off to the east, and then we have west. So I think some of my favorite stuff is up to the north, so I think that we'll start here. In this direction, we should have 3 portals, 2 of which lead to almost nothing. The one of them is very important to me. So going north from my city, funny enough, the first portal that we're going to hit is actually another iteration of Rexington. Like I said for the snowy suburbs, it was originally created for my friend Gnarly, who decided that he wanted to have his own country, and he just cannot pick a spot that he wants it to be. Okay, so here it is. This is one of the only times that I did in this entire world. Usually when I go to build a new city, I find an area that I really like, and then I'll place the portal and then, you know, link them up in the Nether that way. This one we picked specifically because, I mean, that portal is directly north of my city, right out that way. And so we built the portal in the Nether and then built this little walkway up and came out onto a tiny little savanna biome. I mean, like, if I fly up, you can see it is the tiniest little island. As you can see, we also have stuff in the background. I will get to that momentarily, but this was the first island that was, like, in this entire area, and what ended up happening was, we came up here, he decided, okay, he would live with this, and I think this entire country was built over the course of, like, 3 days. Well, obviously, we have, like, a couple of farms in place, some cacti. He wanted to have, like, every type of farm that you could. Aside from potatoes, I think that's the only thing that we don't have on this island somewhere in there. And I guess technically it's 2 islands because I have that little bridge here. But I think there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 houses in here. The one that really sticks out to me is my own. When we first got here, this was the first building that we created in this area. And it's actually one of the first buildings I think I did a decent job decorating. It serves almost no purpose. Like, we have a little, you know, fireplace right there. I don't think, yeah, we don't have anything in most of these barrels. This chest has, like, essentially everything that we used to build up the entire island. Obviously, not anymore what we used, but, like, when we were building it. Made a little bed and stuff upstairs. Again, this is just a very tiny island. I don't think the other houses are decorated. We came over here and built, like, a little dock. Man, it's, again, I built this like 3 years ago, like over the course of a weekend, and I don't come over here very often, obviously, because I've finished most of it. We have like a little campfire area as well as a few like cows, but yeah, basically like farming stuff. It's meant to be like a small farming village because he didn't want to have like the big cities and things like that. And that's specifically why they wanted to have their own countries, because he specifically outlawed me from building anything that tall in this area. And then I think my 2 favorite gifts to him that I gave in his country were obviously the beacon. You know you have to have a beacon everywhere that you go. But this, I don't know if I addressed it. I have a little present that looks just like it outside of my castle. It says, you know, "To Gnarly from King Tadpole." These were actually gifts that I got from when I first got blue axolotls. Yeah, we just have like a little blue axolotl in here. If you're new to the channel or you haven't seen it before, I actually got blue axolotls. I don't mean to brag, but I was one of the first people on YouTube to get blue axolotls. And at this point, I have over 1,000 of them. I've made far too many videos about blue axolotls. But when I did that initially, I got a bunch of them in, because, again, I had 1,000. I got them, and I took them around to all of my friends. So back when he still considered this Rexington, I think nowadays he has said he already wants a new country, because this was built in 3 days, and he feels like there's nothing to do with it. But originally, I brought this over to give to him, like, as a part of Rexington, as a little gift, and yeah, I think it's such a small little village that doesn't do much, but I think it's cute. More importantly, though, around it, there's no great way to show all of these off. In this area, there are a ton of islands, usually larger than that, something around this size, that it's really hard to build a lot of things, but because we're so close to my city, like literally just directly north of it, I always love to like come over here and do little one-off projects. So like for a village here, or not for a village, a video here, I covered it all in dripstone, and then I made, you know, a giant stone block that is covered in drip because I thought that was hilarious. And also we just have like drip around him. That was a stupid video. But I've also done one for, I think we have the Tough Island over here. Oh no, sorry, we have the Deep Slate Island over here. I did a mountain in Tough, that's right. We have the Deep Slate Island over here, and in the middle of it, I tried to make this like a little laboratory area around it, and I made an entire skyscraper devoted to blue axolotls. hope that they're still in here. Yeah, here you go. You can see them. Little blue buddies. Like I said, I have like 1,000 of these blue axolotls. You will see as we go along. I have just started making a bunch of stupid builds that serve absolutely no purpose. And so the blue buddies get to have their own skyscraper because, you know, if I have like 200 of them, what's one for them? But more importantly, as we go over here, I tried to make this island. When I first got here, it was just like a pretty basic, like I think it's just like a dirt plains. I don't know what kind of island it was, but I remade a bunch of trees out of like quartz and stone. I don't know. I thought it looked cool. Like, this was my imagination of, like, if a volcano went off and covered it in deep slate, and, like, you know, there was, like, an ashy look to each of the trees, and they were stone. I just thought it was cool, and then, because of that idea, I thought, well, of course, some scientists would want to come in here. So we have, like, a little truck, we have a little research area from, like, a meteorite that hit, as well as, I believe these are meant to be, like, research facilities, if I'm not mistaken. The B.J. Arthur Institute of Biological Research, yeah. Didn't do a good job of furnishing them. I just thought it would be a fun idea. And then I think we just, yeah, that's just a water elevator that takes you down to the bottom. I don't think we actually have anything down there, so I'm not going to go down there. But I love little one-off projects like this. Oh, and we have a little nether wart farm. I just think it's cute. It was meant to look like laboratories. I am a biology major, and so, you know, I know what actual labs look like, and I thought it would be cool to implement that in my world. As well as, I think my favorite of the little islands that we've done so far is over here. This is an island completely covered in moss. I think this was the first of these little islands that I made. I wanted it, you know, to look like a little, sort of like a hobbit town, I believe. And so I tried to make a ton of these, like, little tiny houses. I gave myself the bare minimum of a farm. And then my favorite of them is this right here. Yeah, the colony of North Mossville. Technically, in terms of, like, my city and things like that, each of these individual islands is owned by my country. That way, again, it doesn't matter to other people. I just love having that idea of, you know, if you went from my country over to Rexington, you would have to, like, show your passport. You don't actually have passports in the world. I just love the idea of that. But I have this little house that I lived out of while I was making it. I just think it's so cute. Like, when I have a city and all of the things that I make outside of it, I never get to live in houses like this, and I just think it's the cutest thing ever. This was another one that I believe only took about 3 days to make. I mean, I'm just surprised how quickly I'm able to make things like this. If you have a bunch of moss and bones sitting around, this really isn't a very difficult type of island to make. It was a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. And then I believe the last of the island builds is over here. This was probably the most expensive of them all. A few months back, I ended up finally making a gold farm for, you know, the first time in 8 years, and you know, once you have that much gold, you've got to do something with it. So I came over here, made as many gold blocks as I could, and completely covered this island. I am well aware that this is quite the monstrosity. I just thought, you know, given that I've done one in moss and deep slate and all those other things, why not try one with gold? It's a mess. This one I don't recommend doing, but come on, when you make an island out of gold, you've got to show it off. And speaking of gold, you kind of saw it in the background before. This over here is a golden cow. This one was actually made before I ever had the gold farm, so I have no idea how I got this much gold. It's a very stupid build. I've decided to make, like, quite a few statues, just because I don't know why. It's like when you walk around, I think it's such a magnificent look to it. But more importantly, this is one of the only statues in my world that actually has a half-decent purpose to it. And that is because on the inside, we have our own little lore for the world, and that is the Amethyst Fairy. Now, I had to make this little, what do you call it? Like a little layer for him. And this right here is the Amethyst Fairy. Now, he doesn't actually exist. Sorry to burst your bubble. But in videos and things like that, I just thought it was funny to have a little character. You know, when you're making videos, you have to get a ton of blocks, like these bone that I used in here, that you don't always want to have to show off, like, while you're doing it. So I made up the Amethyst Fairy to explain away. Anytime, you know, I have a cut to the camera and then I come back and have a ton of blocks, it's always him that gave them to me. But I made this adorable little lair for him. I sort of envisioned it like, oh, I don't remember his name. There was a guy in the Odyssey, it was a giant cyclops in the Odyssey that trapped Odysseus in like a cave and things like that. And I sort of based it off that. The food, not so much. The food is so that he can eat that. But I wanted to have him have little cows that, like, theoretically he could eat, but for now he just keeps them as pets. And he's meant to be like a really massive figure that stands up over things. I was supposed to make a lore video for him, but I sort of forgot to do that. So he's just sort of like crouched down here in his little lair until he can eventually get out. And Yeah, that's a dumb build that doesn't have much of a purpose. I just think it's cute to have stuff like that. And then the last thing that's in the general direction of Rexington is this right here. And this is one of the stupidest builds that I have made to date. It is quite literally 100,000 blocks of dirt. This one I know I did for a video because I was not dumb enough to do this of my own volition. For whatever reason, I just had, well, yeah, you saw the chest room that I had. My chests were getting overrun with dirt, and I decided if I just kept doing that, I was just going to run out of space. And so rather than, you know, use dirt to landscape an area or something like that, I placed 100,000 solid blocks of dirt. And a lot of people seem to think that it's hollow for some reason, so I don't know, I'll pick a spot right here. Yeah, you can see if I start to dig in there, it's not hollow, it's literally 100,000 blocks of dirt. I gotta make sure I place all of this back, though. I believe this one took me, oh, it was a long project. This took me like a full week to get in place, and we also gave him a name. His name is Ronnie, which is hard to say. I specified it's not Ronnie, it's Ronnie. And I also put mycelium up at the top. And then, you know, to give him a little brother, because, you know, I'm the little brother of my family, I also gave him a little Ronnie, and gosh, this was a dumb project. It's one of those things that, like, it only works as something to show off in the background. It's not something you should ever do, but it's neat when you look at it like that. But with that, that's essentially everything that we have around Rexington. I was thinking of making this one large country just because, you know, there's so many tiny islands that themselves couldn't be their own, but I like the idea of having them all together. Sort of like how Dubai and the Philippines are sort of made up of a ton of little tiny islands. I don't know, I think that's a really cool idea. So if you have any good names for that, I would love to hear them down below. And then right back in the Nether, if we continue heading north, this over here is another, like, tiny little project. It's not the most impressive thing in the world. When the new 1.18 update came out, I know we're on 1.19 now. In my world, given that it's 8 years old, it's really hard to get a lot of the new things that come out. Even, like, you can sort of see, where is it? Yeah, right there. This is literally how far I have to go out from my original area to get some of the new Nether blocks. So anytime a new update comes out, I always have to, like, venture pretty far away. Now, I know with a lot of old worlds, like Dallas Med, he has to go, like, 40,000 blocks out. I have not traveled quite that far. But we had to go a few thousand blocks out so that I could find some of the new ores and things like that. Because I'm such a sucker for a lot of things that 1.18 brought. I was really excited for it. And so I believe I never actually showed it off in a video. It really only existed on my Twitch channel. We came up here and for like 2 weeks I decided to make my own little village up here that I thought was adorable. Now, sadly, this was another example of I made the portal and then figured out where I was going to be after the fact. I believe it's somewhere over here. Yeah, that's right. We have the red sand. Yeah, here it is. Lovely. When the new 1.18 update came out, I made this little village here that is the cutest thing ever. It doesn't actually have a name. That's why I keep calling it the 1.18 village. But it is one of my favorite things that I have ever built. First and foremost, come on, how can you not love this? I made this little sanctuary here. What do we call it? Oh, Lily the Frog. That's such a cute name. We came in over here. I wanted it to be like a little tranquil spot. Obviously, you have to have a creeper dead there because I can't be having creepers in here. But I came over here, and this is one of the first areas where I had moss. And I saw a design, I think on like the subreddit for Minecraft or something like that, for this little frog, and, you know, I'm Tended Tadpole, it's a frog, so I had to get it. As well as, you know, frogs weren't in the game yet. I know they are now, I love frogs. But this was the only way that I could have my own little frog. And come on, I think that's adorable. And then, before that, we actually had this house, and so I built the walkway down to it. This is one of my favorite house designs, just because a lot of my houses look sort of like something you would see in a suburban area in the United States. So, it's a cute little house, doesn't have a lot to it. Actually, I ended up moving my chest room over there, so it doesn't even have chests to it. But I believe this is where I had my first little mine or something like that. Yeah, we created our first little mine in case I needed it. And then I got bored with this area even, so then we came down here. I think this is like a little enchanting table. Yeah, we have an enchanting table. I also built a little gazebo that's up on a hill over here. I feel bad, this area I've like lived in for, again, like a week and a half, so it doesn't show off a lot. This is just, I've never made a gazebo in Minecraft. I literally freehanded this design, and I thought it turned out lovely. And I thought the idea would be, you know, if I was just here, it's meant to be like a vacation home, so I figured if I was here with some of my friends, you know, you'd come up here, have a barbecue overlooking a bay, I guess this would be, or a river, whatever it is. I thought it would be cute to have that. And then the actual industrial side of this, where, you know, they actually have to get tools and stuff like that, would be under this little covered bridge, which I've got to stop saying it, but it looks absolutely adorable. It takes you over to the only farms that we have in this area. Mostly the cows are the only thing that I eat nowadays, given how much steak I have. But this is where I first came over to find some of the new blocks. Now, funny enough, I don't even think I went deep enough to find those new blocks. I just wanted to make a quarry because, you know, it was the Caves and Cliffs update. We didn't end up having like a massive cave underneath it. I just wanted to be able to dig straight down, have a lovely little area to get all of the resources. And I also love this crane design. I think that's another thing that I saw online that turned out just beautifully. And then over here we have another house kind of looking thing. This was just meant to be like a little chest room for me. And if I'm not mistaken, yes! I actually found a pink sheep while we were over in this area. I'm a sucker for pink sheep. I know that, like, compared to the blue axolotl, I guess they're not that rare. But every time I find a pink sheep, I go out of my way to make sure I put them somewhere safe. So I got the pink sheep. I don't recall if these are all naturally generating. That would be insanely lucky if they were. I'm guessing we got like 1 or 2 of them, and then I just bred the pink sheep together. But I always love having pink sheep, and I love showing that off. And then over here, I think the last thing that we have in this area was I made an attempt at making a train station because, like I said, when I first came over here, I thought I was going to find like a little cave or something as part of the new update, and it took me a while to find one, and so I literally just flew around for a while until I believe at the very end of this, we found like one decently sized cave. It wasn't even like the largest one I've ever found. Where is it? Is it under these tracks? Oh, that's right. It doesn't actually lead to a cave. I found one of the first, like, decently sized mountains that I had found, and given, like, the size of the mountains I was used to in my world, that was just massive to me. So I decided that, you know, they would obviously have to have a little railway that would take you over so that they could get all of the iron and coal and different things that they needed. I don't know that it actually came to fruition. I just thought, you know, for any little town that would have something where they'd have, like, a full-on quarry, they would need some way to get their resources back and forth. And yeah, I just thought this was an adorable little town that I made. Again, it literally only took me 2 weeks to make this. It's not the most impressive of areas. I just thought it looks like a little village that somebody would love to live in. So as we head back through the Nether, we're going to show off the last thing that's to the north of the city. So just for your bearings again, that is where we started. As we headed north, we got to Rexington, and then straight up ahead, we went all the way to the little 1.18 village. If we go a little bit to the east, and I think this is one of the only buildings that's actually to the east of my city. This is going to be probably the largest city that we have of them all. Like I said, when I had made the original city and then I made a spawn city, after I made those two, I decided I wanted to branch off a little bit more than I already had. And aside from, like, the other countries that my friends had made, pretty much everything I had built up until that point was within that, like, original map that I had shown off earlier. So this is the third city and the first one that I made outside of, like, the original spawn area. And it is a place that I like to call Tended Groves. And nowadays, I really think this might be my favorite part of the world. In terms of the world, it's relatively new. I started this, actually at that point, I already had the YouTube channel, back in August of 2020. At that point, I guess the world would have been 6 years old. And, you know, after I had made all of the countries for my other friends, I decided that I deserved to make my own new little city. And so, much like the original one, it has like a ton of skyscrapers that go all throughout it. I believe of the 3 cities, this one has the largest number of skyscrapers. So again, like the other ones, I'm not going to show them all off. It's just, I mean, come on, how can you not love flying through these? As well as for this one, I did a few things different about the city. As you like look around, you'll notice on the other cities, I made all of the roads like straight, you know, like crisscrossing lines. Whereas for this one, I tried to do more of like a natural, old style looking road. I don't know. I think it looked nice, as well as I put a bunch of trees up in the city. I know that might not be normal for a lot of cities, although some of them do have trees sitting in there. I just thought, you know, this adds to the aesthetic and looks a bit more natural, as well as this little parkour thing that I put in place. It's an absolute eyesore to look at, but I love running around the city and just using this to, you know, hop between the buildings. But yeah, let's start back off. Over here, when I first came through the portal, this was one of the first buildings that we had when I first came over to Tended Groves. I believe technically the first one was this little fountain, but I mean, how interesting can a fountain be? And the reason there's a big F in it, I believe, is because either one of my dogs or a fox ended up getting killed in like the early days while I was still having to fight off mobs. So we put the F in there as a little remembrance to them. Kind of sad that I don't remember which one it was, but yeah. And then after that, we built this lovely little temple here. Originally, there was like a little hill. Obviously, just like with the other cities, it was not this flat to begin with, so I went in here and I landscaped quite a bit. But originally, this area right here was pretty high. It had its own little, oh, what do you call it? It had its own little hill that it was sitting on. And so because of that, I also decided to put, as one of the higher areas in here, I gave it its own little portal, and I was happy that it started here. And this is basically the temple that I have lived out of the entire time that I've been working on this city. If you can't tell, I also loved, I think this was like a month or two after the Nether update had come out, so I absolutely loved like the blue fire, the blackstone, things like that. So I incorporated quite a bit of that, and the inside is pretty boring. These are literally the chests that I have lived out of this entire city, the entire time we've had it. Since I've recently finished up the city, I haven't done a lot more with it. Not the most interesting, as well as we have a few of our little froggy buddies. These weren't the first frogs that I had found, but they were among some of the first. And these two little green ones I actually brought from over from a different area where I got my first frogs. And then this little fox is also one of the oldest animals that I have. Back in the early days of the city when I was originally making it, I'll show it off in a minute. We literally made a fox sanctuary because of it. One of the people watching Jayton decided that any fox that he saw, he wanted me to kill. And so, because my chat was like, no, you can't be killing every fox, we picked this little one up, I put it in here, and I think I literally put a bounty on his head, just so that I said, like, look, you're not going to kill him, somebody has to pay if you want to. And they decided to name him the Pretty Little Pogchamp, and yeah, I think he's adorable. And I literally only have him here to save his life, so, I'm such a hero. But as you come out, some of the first things that you'll notice, it was probably this little building right here. And this is actually the Parliament building. And funny enough, these few first skyscrapers that I made were also related to it. Because like I said, by this point, we had a YouTube channel already going. And we had a Discord at that point as well. And so because I had the Discord, people in there decided that they wanted to have their own little government for the Discord. So I literally created like a little election system that we still have going to this day, where every few months we hold elections for like the president of the Discord as well as like a senate. And so they'll come in here. We don't have the names because the names of the original senators are over here on their offices. And I literally decorated each of their rooms to fit like their individual style. Like, which one was it? Yeah, Lil Davey, I think his is, yeah, an upside down office. My friend over here literally just has fire. We tried to make it look, similar to how I would imagine the individual. They were all personalized is really what it gets to. But more importantly, everybody has their own little seat over here. And they'll come in here, usually every time we have like one new president or one new senate, they'll get one law passed. And they don't even come into the world to do it. They usually do it on Discord. And then, to be fair, these are basically all of the laws that I've put in here. Like, only I get to sell heads. All the blue axolotls are mine. Fun things like that. We don't pass too many laws from here. A lot of it, like I said, is done on Discord. But they decided they wanted to have their own little government building. And I think it's beautiful. And I love that little like window where you can look out into parts of the city. I don't know. It doesn't serve a huge purpose, as do most of my buildings. I just think it's gorgeous. And then as you come back out here, we'll sort of head to the right over this way. After I built the Parliament building, I realized Parliament isn't the only government building that we would have. So we made like a full-fledged government that actually works. Aside from like, in my original city, I only have the Nonagon that does it. So we have like a little public transport. This is actually just a little ice bridge that will take you off to my original city. That ended up taking like 3 or 4 days to make. I was surprised how long it takes to make little ice walkways. Over here we have like the next proper government building. It's called the Tadpolian High Court Parthenon. This is basically meant to be like our own little Supreme Court. We have a nice bell of justice. This was another thing where, when we picked the president for the Discord, the president would have a Senate, and then they would also pick 3 Supreme Court justices that would just sit up here, and anytime, usually it's not for like minor things, like if somebody stole something from another person, they wouldn't hear it here. But like, if somebody blew up somebody else's house, they would come here, and just the same way that we had the Nonagon court, they would come in here, they'd have to, make their case, and this time we have 3 judges that would actually hear on it, so I don't know, it seemed more fair. And then for this one as well, we also allowed people to come in here, yeah, like my friend Salbert, we allowed them to come in here and like actually have lawyers and come up with a strategy. Thus far, we haven't actually had to use this. The other court we have had to use several times, because like anytime somebody would kill each other in the world, we'd have to hold a court. Knock on wood, we haven't had to do that here, but yeah, maybe someday we will. This right here, I think we called it, yeah, it's the public bitching square. When I started making the city and I made like a little cow right here, people decided they had strong opinions about the way that I was making it. So, you know, to allow for some freedom of speech, anybody who wants to come complain about the city is allowed to stand out front of, like, the Parliament and the Parthenon and, you know, just complain about whatever they have. Thus far, given that I'm the king, it hasn't gotten a lot of usage, but I don't know, I think it's cute. And then heading over here, this is like the square where we have all the rest of the government buildings. This one is not actually a government building. When I was first creating this area, I wanted it to be like a little circle. And originally, I thought I was going to try and put like a Statue of Liberty in place. But as time progressed, I realized copper is a lot harder to get than I thought. And I also don't know how to make the Statue of Liberty. So we came in here, and as you noticed, I have, like, just a heap of dogs that are sitting over there. And so, as I got more and more dogs, I decided they deserved to have their own little home. So we made this lovely little copper dog statue that I think, yeah, we called it Cypress. It's called the Cypress Foundation, where I have a bunch of my little dogs in place. It's not the best thing in the world. As you'll notice, I have quite a few statues. Like, I have that little cow over there. I don't know if you can see it very well. I made a bee statue up here as well and took hundreds of honey blocks to do it. That was such a pain to do. Funny enough, the honey was more expensive to get than, like, the gold, the diamond, and those other things. But, like I said, I love making little statues like this. And this one, I actually ended up freehanding this. For a lot of my statues, I'll, like, yeah, like, for the bee and for the cow, I'll look at, like, the game model that they have. I didn't use the game model for the dog, and I don't know, I thought he was absolutely adorable. That one's not necessarily, like, a government thing. I had to show him off first. And then as we go around the little circle here, this was meant to be, I think this is like the only military base that we have in this entire city. It was meant to be like a little bit of a bunker. What's it called? Tadpolia National Defense Outpost. Yeah, it's meant to be like a little bunker. I'm not as, you know, cautious nowadays, or really I'm not just as paranoid as I used to be. I'm not terribly concerned about griefers nowadays, but I still decided I should have my own little outpost. This one, much like the other ones, doesn't have a ton to it. When you come in here, like, it'll have a little farm, which is one of the only semi-automatic farms that I have, or I guess semi-automatic plant farms that I have in my world. You just hit the button. I don't want to, because I don't want to have to plant it all back. As well as over here, we have an unfinished little chest room, because I realized making all of these chests got a little bit expensive. I'll probably finish it one day. And then over here, we also have a little area where everybody can sleep, including a fish tank, so all my little fishy buddies can come over here. It's not too crazy. This one was really just meant to be, you know, if there was ever like a griefing or something like that, and I needed to call upon the military, this would be a decent base of operations. And because it's below a mountain, it'd be really hard to come in here and grief this as well and try and blow the whole thing up. So this is just meant to be, you know, if something ever happened to the city, I could, you know, have my base of operations out of that. As we keep going around here, we have, like the bank that I had showed at the Tadpolian Federal Island, this serves like pretty much an identical purpose. I just wanted to make one, the original one just looked boring, if I'm gonna be honest. So I wanted to kind of show off that my building skills had gotten a little better. We have diamond in the roof of it. As you come in, we have like a full-on little diamond thing right there that holds all of them, as well as I actually made a little office, because, you know, if you're doing banking things, you probably shouldn't be saying it for everybody to hear. So we have like a few little offices, and then similarly it has, I forget, oh, there's the button. Similarly as the other one, it has a little upstairs where you come in and we hold all of the diamonds, except this is like the normal diamond area, and then I even made like an extra secret vault where, you know, we have sentries that would definitely protect if somebody ever tried to rob this place. So you come through several doors to get into this little area. Oh, I do have a button. Sorry, I got scared there for a second. This would be like our high net worth clients, you know, 10 whole diamonds, where, you know, if we really thought that their diamonds needed to be protected, they would have to go through a few layers to get in here. I don't know, this one, again, it serves about as useful of a role as the other one. What do we have in here? Oh, we have even more storage even underneath that. It was meant to be able to hold more people than the original one, but again, it's not as useful as it used to be. Nowadays, I just sort of hold the number of diamonds that people have on a little notes app on my phone, but yeah, I love it, and I think like it's just an upgraded version of the first one I made. And then this building right here, oh, I don't even remember. It's meant to be, what is it, the infrastructure? Yeah, the Royal Institute of Infrastructure. This was like my first ever try at... Originally, it wasn't even supposed to be a government building. This was going to be a mansion. And then I decided, you know what? I think it's cute. As we have, like, all of these roads and things in place, you know, I hold the money for the government in the bank, but I decided we may as well have our own little office for it as well. So you come on in, we have, like, a little waiting area. I thought this was fun to have, like, you know, everywhere that you go where they're making, like, little bridges, or if they're making, like, little buildings and things like that, they always have replicas. So I decided to make my own little, like, fake bridge for here. And we also have, you know, your basic little meeting room right there. We have human resources. This is just where we fire people that we don't like. A little office supply thing in here. This is when I really, like, properly started trying to do furnishing on buildings. And especially for a building this big, I really struggled at it. So we have, this was meant to be like an open floor plan kind of office. And then we also have the shitter, as you obviously need. Because as you will notice, most of my buildings don't actually have bathrooms. So 5,000 IQ had to put that in place. And most of this stuff is just offices and things like that. What I'm really proud of is this top floor. Because as we were making these ones, I tried to make it look like a typical office building. And then as we got up here, I'm like, screw it, we're just going to have fun. So this is meant to be, we had a lot of fighting when I was originally making it because everybody wanted to be in charge of this little government thing. Because at the time we had, you know, maybe 20 people watching a bunch of the streams. So between like the Senate building or the Parliament, between like the Supreme Court as well as like military leaders, basically everybody had a job at that point. So people were fighting on who would get to be like in charge of the Royal Institute of Infrastructure. And so of course I made it my mom. Mama Tadpole is technically in charge of the infrastructure in my entire world. And she wanted a little office where she could have a bed, a cute little meeting area. And then out here was just mayhem. Because so many people were fighting for it. Yeah, boxing ring. Mama Tadpole 420, everybody else 0. Because so many people were fighting that they wanted to be in charge of it, we literally made a boxing ring and said, you know what, if you want to run the place, literally come fight my mom. So far, I don't think we had any actual takers because, you know, Mama Tadpole's a good fighter. We have like a little sleeping pod that we called the egg. I don't know, I've just seen pictures of like at the Google offices they had things like that. So I thought it would be funny, and then we have, you know, a little TV permanently set to Cartoon Network because it's the best TV channel. And yeah, that about does it for most of the government buildings. Oh, aside from that one over there, this right here is another government building that we have. This was meant to be, we have like a normal police that actually takes charge of things. But as I was doing these streams and, you know, I wasn't giving people government positions, people were talking mad smack on me. And so I decided to uphold the legacy of the king. This would be, I didn't even give it a name. That's even more ominous. It's meant to be called, I think it's the Order of the Hawk. And what it is essentially a secret police where we have people come in and investigate. If you're ever, oh, I messed that up. If you ever say bad things about the king, you know, we would have offices here where they would come to investigate you. Literally all of these are offices. Oh, and restrooms as well. Like I said, I actually started putting them in place. It's a ton of offices that go all the way around. The upstairs is essentially the same thing. More and more offices. What's impressive about this, though, is if we come in here, shoot, I don't actually have, okay, well, okay, POV, you're supposed to have a special little lever to open it up, and then it would open up here. Yeah, you can see, I have redstone, I'm smart about it, and you would be brought into here for your little trial. Yeah, here it is. That's, never mind, it doesn't open and close. You would be brought in here to, you know, have your little, oh, it's called the frog core. Oh, I completely messed up the name of this. You would come in here to have, like, a little hearing over whether or not you had disrespected the king. And if you made it to this point where you had to come into a little secret cult room, I think you know what's happening. You're getting thrown into this little hole. What's it called? The Pit of Amogus. Yeah. So you get thrown in here, similar to the Shack of Shame. Or I guess the Shame Shack, where you just sit in here until I've decided, you know, enough respect has been put on my name that we let you out. You know, normal Minecraft things. And yeah, that about does it for the government buildings. I'm going to head back this way because as I was showing it off, you will notice that, you know, there's this little area back here. Oh, again, there's one more government building I kept forgetting about. I also made a library. I keep forgetting about this one because it's the most boring of them all. It's literally just bookshelves, also only nerds read. So literally nobody has ever come in here. I don't even think we have a single worker for the library. So I guess it would just be mayhem if somebody came in here. But more importantly, as we come this way, this is one of my favorite areas in the city. It's called the Luke Olson Shopping District. It's named that because as I was first starting off the city, like I'm talking early days when I was doing all the landscaping for it, somebody named Luke Olson was really generous and donated like hundreds of dollars out of the blue. Like didn't say anything. It was incredibly generous. I really appreciated it. And, you know, because of that, businessman gotta make businesses for him. So, as I was doing the live streams, similar to like if you didn't get the government office, I said, okay, fine. I think this was my first days of streaming on Twitch even. And so anybody that was there got their own little shop named after them. So we have, the first one here was the Mr. Pie's Poppin' Pie shop. It's adorable. The guy's name is Mr. Pie. And so, you know, we made, that door doesn't work properly. We made a little pie shop where you could come in. Again, I think my furnishing got a lot better. We also put in these stupid little quotes. Live, laugh, hit children with your 1999 Mazda Miata. What are these ones? A glass of wine is like an hour at the gym. Yeah, I just decided to put, like, the sassy quotes. You know, like when you're walking through Target, they'll have, like, I don't know, like a little sign that says something stupid that's like, you know, I only get one wine glass a day, and it's the size of a bucket of paint. We also have, yeah, a little carrot company here. As I got on, they weren't as great. This one was actually a video. This is Heads and Things. From the outside, it just looks like a normal head shop where we sell them for like 10 diamonds a piece. But as you come in, if you know a guy, we don't just sell these heads. We also have people heads. So we sort of have like, you know, a little mob area down here. We also have a thing. Yeah, you can set like bounties basically on people. Luckily, we have not had anybody do that except for Jayton trying to get me to kill more foxes, but, you know, fun things. Hey, it's not illegal if I run it, because it's my thing. Oh, and the outside is meant to look like, you know, a severed creeper head. I thought it was adorable. I just really enjoy it. As we go on, I think this is meant to be, like, yeah, an alchemy shop. Where I was going to say it was a medicine shop. I guess alchemy is a little different from that. So we have like a little alchemy shop. We have, this is just a clothing store that my friend had made. He actually no, he didn't make it. I named it after him. I believe literally every shop in here I constructed of my own volition. We have a little sear, shear, and paint shop, or sear, shear, and sheep shop. That's a mouthful to say. It was meant to be, I call it a paint shop because we give like colored wool and things like that, and we don't really do that anywhere else, so it's kind of like painting a building. And then as we go around, we have, this was meant to be like an antique shop. It's just called John's Old Shit. Yeah, as you can tell, we started doing a lot more swearing as we built these ones. It's meant to be just a single potato for 200 feathers. This is the only spot where they don't actually use diamonds to purchase their items. A literal cannon that I don't know how they got in here. Just fun things like that. As we go around, I'm just going to skip past these more so because we didn't do much for them. We have Drumsticks Rick Rolls where it's like a bakery. We have, what is it, Prison Mike's Potato Parlor? Yeah, Prison Mike's Potato Parlor. This is Salbert's building. Oh, I guess Salbert did build this one. The Bone Zone. She sells bones, even though I'm like 90% certain she stole the bones from me, because I'm the only one who has any way that you can get bones because of my XP farm. We have, yeah, a wood shop, Memley's Wood Emporium. We have, I think, Ari's Munchies shop, something like that. Ari's Munchies. Yeah, and this one was meant to be like an ice cream or candy little area. And then this is one of the more obnoxious builds I had to make. It's Crimson's Exotic Pet Shop. And the only reason it's obnoxious is because as you have looked around, you'll probably notice there aren't exactly a lot of pandas in this area. It took me like 5 hours to get 2 of the pandas to come in here. And then I bred them to my heart's content to get a ton of them. More of them actually live over in the zoo that I'll show off in a little bit as well. This one was such a pain. We used to even have birds in here too. I don't know what happened to them. I'm guessing they died or something. And we also have some of the first bees that I had in the world too. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like much. It's a cute little building. It was meant to look sort of like a greenhouse so that, you know, they could have light still coming in here. It just took me so long to get those pandas in here, and I don't know why. They hate listening. And then this is, I believe, the only animal farm that we have in the entire city. This is where I've gotten everywhere that I have, like, wool or things like that, as well as all the food that I usually use nowadays comes from this little farm. Nothing crazy. I just enjoy it. Oh, and I forgot the last one. We also have an armory right there, but yeah, it is what it is. None of these shops really see a lot of business, obviously, because I'm, like, the only one who plays anymore. I just love, like, if I fly up, you know, especially since we have a bunch of skyscrapers over here, I love having this little area where you can come in and just buy all of the cute things you little need. And then as you come up here, this was another one of the things that I had to make as a bit of an apology. Oh, you can also see we made a Saturdays are for the boys sign in the background. There's not much to say about that. It just is what it is. As I was saying, in the early days, I had killed off a bunch of foxes, but for whatever reason, in like the original days of building the city, as I was building some of the skyscrapers, Jayton, again, for whatever reason, donated like $5 over and over again, telling me to go and kill some of my dogs. As you notice, I have hundreds of them, so I think I kind of made up for it. But at the time, I think I ended up killing 9 dogs because he told me to. And so, yeah, K9, because there were 9 of them. Because I killed so many of them, I actually lost like 30 subscribers over the course of doing it because people got so mad at me for it. So as a way to rectify the situation, we came up here, we built a little graveyard to house all of them, as well as because they thought, you know, I deserved to have some pain for it. We made this little thing, which doesn't look that expensive, but this is also, I believe this is where their actual bones are held. Yeah, the tomb of the slain canines. So underneath here, I have, like, their actual bones held in place. But more so, I filled it with a bunch of blocks of diamonds. Literally all of the blocks of diamonds that I had at that point were spent on the roof of this thing as a way to apologize for everything that I had done to the dogs. I still regret it to this day. Shout out to Jayton for making me do that. He was the one who donated so much to have me do it. And so, yeah, we basically have a bone in place there. I think it's really cute. The meaning behind it is very tragic. I apologize profusely for it, but yeah, that's about it. And so with that, that's most of the stuff that we have sort of in this area. Oh, I guess I do also have like a golden chicken right there, similar to like, you know, the copper dog and the golden bee. I made this one on a whim. I think this was actually the first of like the statues that I decided to make. I love it. It's beautiful. I think we called it Red Lobster Crab Fest. It was just a stupid one-off build. And so, I thought it was funny. And actually, we put it there to be a little protectorate because directly under it is another one of the mines that I had, the Tended Groves Public Mining Endeavor. Ooh, fancy. This is the main mine that I have for this little area. I know mines usually aren't that impressive, but for me, I love making them where, oh, I gotta fall down correctly. First of all, I think it just looks better. Like, this little walkway is a lot better than my original mine. And similar to the first one, I basically just mined out a massive area. Because when you're making skyscrapers, I use stone for just about every building. So I thought, you know, I was gonna need a ton of it. We still have, oh, I guess maybe not. Oh, I actually got rid of it. We used to have, I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of like diamond ore, coal ore, things like that. And this area was actually made before the like 1.18 update that I think ruined Minecraft to where now, if you want to find coal and iron for that matter as well, you have to go up on a massive mountain. I hate that, so nowadays I come back to this mine if I ever need any coal or iron and things like that. And we also have in this little area, I made this, a lot of it was made while I was in one of my years of college. And so I decided for that, because I've never done a face reveal on the channel, and people didn't know what my little room looked like, so this was a 1-for-1 scale of like what the little dorm that I lived in looked like. If anything, this does it justice, makes it look large. Like my roommate slept right here, I was right here. Literally only one person could walk through here at a time. It was tiny, but yeah, I thought it was cool. And we also had a little, it's not meant to be a camera, we weren't sus like that. That was just like a little sprinkler that we had overhead in case of a fire. Not a sprinkler that normally went off, and I hope that it would never go off. But yeah, that's about it for the mine. And then, like I said before, as you come up, it's a lot of skyscrapers. Each of them has their own name, just like with the other cities. As I build them, I name each and every one of them. So like this one, for example, is called the Flyers Inn. Yeah, I guess it was meant to be a hotel for my friend Flyers. Most of them, we just give their little name, and basically each one of these was its own live stream, so you can see it was dozens and dozens of live streams. It would usually be some sort of inside joke that we did for the stream, and I thought they're fun. It's sort of like a little relic that if you were there, you understand it, but most people don't. But more importantly, over here, I had mentioned the number of foxes that I had killed during it. And so literally because of that, for the dogs, I had to make that little dog memorial. For the foxes, I had to make the Jaden Fox Sanctuary. And like I said, Jaden was the one who made me kill all of them. It was a little, ow, that hurts. It was meant to be like a little microcosm of, you know, a tiny little spruce biome. Because sadly, this entire area, that's why there's spruce trees everywhere. This entire area used to be one massive spruce biome. And we kind of ruined the little area for all these little guys. So I decided I'd bring a couple foxes in. Here, I'll just plant this down. I bring a couple foxes in. We breed them every so often. Knock on wood, I have not killed any of them since we put them in here. As well as I brought some Arctic foxes over from a snowy area as well. So now the foxes get to live in peace. I'm not going to hurt them anymore. And they get to be happy. Don't jump out. And then out in front as well, we have a couple of little dogs that stand guard so that, you know, if Jaden never made it onto the world, he couldn't come in and kill even more of them. But yeah, from that, like I said, it's a lot of skyscrapers, so I'm going to be skipping over most of that. But over here, I tried to make another little refuge from the skyscrapers. These skyscrapers, again, took like months and months to build, so like every so often I would just get bored from making them, and I would make a little area like this. So that right there is called, I think it's like Pog Tower or Poggers Tower or something like that. Very cringe name. Yeah, it's called Pog Tower. I need to rename that. That sucks. But much like WCPM Tower was, like by law the tallest tower that I had in my original city, this is by law the tallest tower that is in this city. I don't know if it still claims that title because I'm pretty sure I made a taller one since then, but I thought it was a beautiful design. Absolutely love it. It was meant to sort of look like Tadpole Tower, where, like, you know, it had the two little pieces coming out. I don't know. And then it was meant to overlook all of this stuff here. So in here, I wanted to make essentially like a little town square or a park. So we have, like, you know, a little pond that you can walk over. That we even have fish in. You're not allowed to fish here because, like, you could literally just walk over here and do that. And that's something I also didn't show off. The entire city is like 10 blocks above the ground, or 8 blocks, however high it is. Because in some of the original cities that I made, they were fine at the time because I lit them up, but when they added drowns to the game, drowns love to spawn in these little rivers, and so they would climb out and then just come over and terrorize me. So I thought it would be fun, literally going all the way around this. I have a wall that looks like this, so we're technically like 10 blocks, or however many blocks, yeah, I think we're about 10 blocks above the normal water level, so that I never have to deal with that again. But yeah, we have a little walkway there. Originally, I made this map, but I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, that's where, like, that little square with all of my government buildings is. I have not updated this map in a hot minute. We're right here right now, and we have skyscrapers going all the way around all of this stuff, so it's a little out of date as well. Yeah, right here is completely different now. Probably should update that at some point, but yeah, I'm not good about making maps, so I thought this would be a nice way to get your bearings. And then all around, we also have a little playground for the kitties that I thought was fun. This is meant to be like a little monkey bar thing, some swing set, very cute. And then here we have, I think, the only other shop that's outside of the shopping district. It's called Tended's Pet and Eat. And the reason it's called Pet and Eat is because it is both a petting zoo as well as a little food area. So you can come in here. I thought it was hilarious, the idea that you would come in, you know, you'd give a rabbit a little pet, and then you could eat rabbit nuggies, and it would be delicious. It's a little bit sadistic. I just thought it was funny at the time. And my chat decided that it would be great too, because, again, I think I've said this like 30 times at this point. Most of this was done on live stream. That's why, you know, if you watch the YouTube videos, you probably haven't seen a lot of this stuff. Aside from this area over here as well. I had shown it off in the original city. I am very, you know, conceited, so I decided I needed to make another statue of myself. We were going to put something above here originally. I don't even remember what. I think we had, like, blue fire or something like that, or maybe that's just what's at my feet. I don't know. I wanted to put something there because I loved this little mountain shape, and it was already a little bit flat, so it made it even easier to do that. And so I put that there so that I could have something that would guard over my little basement down here. Now, if you've noticed in my world, every time I mention, like, I have stone or I have farms or things like that, it's almost all done by hand. This is one of the only areas where I actually have, like, automatic or semi-automatic farms. So, I know I showed off the carrot farm. This one actually preceded it. This was, like, the first semi-automatic farm that I made in my entire world. We also have, I think this is meant to be a flower farm. This one does not work, so I'm not even going to try it. We have another automatic chicken farm. This is the same design as the other one that I have. As well as this used to be an automatic bamboo farm. Although I believe through the updates it has since broken. And so we used to get like a ton of bamboo. I think, oh, I guess maybe not. Yeah, my chests are full of just bamboo. That I just don't have any bamboo farms anywhere else in the world. So I thought it was neat. And then my favorite part of the little basement down here is this little area. Now, I had mentioned that I have 1,000 blue axolotls. I don't have 1,000 here. We'll show that off probably at the very end where I'm going to have them. But I do have like dozens of them in this area. So this was that first area when I originally got my blue axolotls. I decided, you know, they shouldn't just stay in a little pool where I originally bred them. And so I built this beautiful little area. I absolutely love it. It's meant to be like its own little exquisite, like Louis Vuitton Gucci looking store where you come in here and they're literally in like an amethyst basin, and we have all the fish that they could want to eat, and you could walk in here. Technically, you're not allowed to buy the axolotls. It's similar to like, you know, if you know how China does it, where like if you get a panda from China, you don't own the panda, you're basically leasing the panda. I'm basically doing the same thing with my blue axolotls. I legally own them all. But they're adorable. I love them. They're so much fun. And it took me like 8 hours to get the first blue axolotl, so I have to show them off everywhere that I go. But yeah, I think that's adorable. This was originally just meant to be a little automatic farm area. That's why that little area just seems so different from the original. I built this little area and then after the fact put those axolotls in place. And then I think even after that is when I decided to put the statue in place because, you know, I have to have a giant me protecting all of it. And yeah, that's about it for like the functional parts of the city. As we fly up and go around, you'll notice it's skyscrapers galore everywhere that we go. Oh, and I do have this little area as well. It serves absolutely no purpose. This was just a weird one-off build that I decided to do. I'm not going, well, we can go down into it, I guess. I just don't want to get lit on fire. This was meant to be like a little crater or a crash landing site. Around this time, like a year or two ago, I decided I wanted to have some lore for the city, because a lot of it, I mean, it's literally just a city, and that's all there is to it. So I decided I thought it would be cute to have, and it sort of ties in with, like, the amethyst fairy that I showed off as well. I thought it would be cute if we had our own little crash landing site, so, like, who knows, maybe there's aliens around the city, because there's a little crashed thing right here. And it looks like a monstrosity. I hate the way it looks. I tried to make it look sort of like it hit the ground and then they busted out and ran away. And then it's meant to be like Area 51 where we have these massive walls around it. I don't know if it gives off that look. That's just what I thought I was doing when I made it. And I think it's cute. But yeah, that's about it for most of the city. I'm just going to fly over the towers again. That right here is a little gazebo that I built. This was, when I started building over here, I got really far away from my original area. It's not that far, but it's like 2 rockets, and I didn't want to have to fly back and forth over and over again. So this is literally just like a beacon so that I could be a little bit faster at it, and a few shulker boxes of the stuff that I needed. Sorry, the rain and darkness was driving me nuts, so I decided to go sleep it away. As we come around here, so this is like the little gazebo where I store my stuff, and then as we come through here, I had built these skyscrapers. I love skyscrapers, and I have even more that I built after the fact. But as I was coming this way, I realized if you have a city, it's really boring if all you have is skyscrapers. So as we come through here, I decided to add a few more attractions for the people that do live in the city to actually come and do something. So starting off over here, this is the little zoo that I had mentioned before. It's a very run-down zoo. It doesn't look very good. But as you walk through, we have a few little fishies that I absolutely love. Don't know how that pig got in there. These were actually the first animals that I had in the zoo. Right after I made Tadpole's Pet and Eat Shop. I think that's what it's called. Tadpole's Pet. Right after I made Tadpole's Pet and Eat Shop, Right after I made Tadpole's Pet and Eat Shop, a lot of viewers got really mad that I killed off so many of the bunnies to do that. So I took a few of the bunnies from over here and made them their own little area. I promise I won't kill these little bunnies. And now they get to roam free and just be happy. We also have, this was, aside from that one that I built over there, at the Crimson's Exotic Pet Shop, those bees are strictly for sale, so if somebody wanted to buy them. These are the actual bees that I used to get honey, and originally when I have a little copper house that I'll show off in a moment too. When I made that copper house, and I'm like, oh, I need to, wax some of it so it doesn't oxidize. I spent so long, literally just with 2 beehives, getting as much as I could. I love the little bees, they're adorable. I still barely know how they work, but yeah, I gave them their own little thing as well. Over here we have, this one is a fairly new addition as well. This one came long after the original one. I found some, like when turtles got added, I never actually looked into how turtles worked. So I have never had turtles to begin with. I feel bad that they're all just locked in there. But I stole a few of them from like a little beach that I was working on for some project. And I brought them over here and goodness, I feel bad that they're all just like crammed in there like that. I feel like just recently they grew up as the little babies. Only fairly recently, the little eggs actually hatched and the tiny little buddies came in here. I didn't know that they grew up. I feel kind of bad. Oh well, not my problem now. As I had mentioned before, this is also where I have the little pandas. As I had mentioned before, I have a few pandas over there in Crimson's shop, but this is where the bulk of them went. This is actually less than I thought I had. I thought I had like dozens of pandas in here. Maybe not, but here they just get to chill out. Again, the other ones at the shop are for sale. These ones are just to look pretty and to have fun. And then we also have llamas over there. I hate llamas, so I'm not going to show them off. What I do love is over here. This is the newest edition. I made it like within the past month. It's the Tadpolian Institute for Anurin Acquaintances. Now, you're probably thinking, what is an Anurin? It's the little froggy buddies. I love them. My name is Tended Tadpole too. So obviously, you know, tadpoles, frogs. I love them. They're my favorite little thing. I made, like, originally when I got them, I was annoyed that they had separate colors. I don't like the way that they colored them. Like, I don't like the fact that the white ones come from, like, a little sandy biome. I like that the orange ones, at least I think the orange ones should come in here. So I didn't actually color coordinate it to where they would come from. I color coordinated it to how I think they would look. So we have like a little sandy biome where they keep dying on the cacti. We have a little birch area with the white ones. We have a little jungle one with the orange ones. We have a little snowy area. We have a little mushroom area. We built just a normal forest. We have a dark oak forest. We have a little amethyst thing, which frogs probably would not be able to survive in here. I just thought it looked beautiful, and I love amethyst. We have a little cave. Don't know where the frogs in the cave went. That's a little concerning. Maybe they're... Oh, yeah, they're in the water right there. Okay. Sorry, I got scared. Like, I know the ones in the nether one as well. These frogs died off so many times. That's why the fire is covered, because they would just jump into the fire. Sorry, for a second there, I thought these guys had died too. I literally made this, like, in the past month, and a bunch of them have died. I think it's adorable, and, like, it's an actual exhibit that you can walk into, as opposed to these other ones where you just stand there and have to look in. And then I think the last couple ones I'm going to fly over to. I hate goats because I tried to make them their own little pen. Actually, originally, this llama pen over here, this was originally meant for the goats. I don't like llamas, mostly because they associate with wandering traders, and I hate wandering traders. So originally, this was like the little goat area, but I didn't realize they could jump so high. They could, like, not even just this way. Obviously, they could jump over this. They would literally, like, jump up the mountain and get out that way. So I literally had to build them their own little enclosed area. I feel kind of bad that they're stuck in here, but also the entire time I built this for them, they would headbutt me and attack me, so I don't feel that bad for them. And then we also have a few cats. These are meant to be like, you know at some zoos how they'll have like peacocks just walking around? That's kind of what the cats are for, as well as if a creeper came in here and blew this area up, I would be furious. So the cats are here so that they won't do that. And then finally, my favorite animal of them all is the mushroom. Well, I guess now it's kind of the blue axolotl, but originally my favorite animal in the world was mushroom. I love them because they're like the only mob you can get a meal out of without having to kill them. I guess technically you could take eggs from chicken, but I love them. They're so much fun. They're beautiful. It was also such a trek to get them through here, because the pandas, there are jungles like fairly nearby. These mushroom, I only have like one tiny mushroom island that I've ever found, and so, oh my goodness, it took me like an hour to get the first ones in here, and then I've bred them over and over again. I love them. They're beautiful. And this isn't actually an animal. I tried to get some birds over here as well, and didn't realize that you can't actually breed birds. At the time, I thought you could, and my chat told me that to breed them, you could actually use cookies. Please, for the love of everything, do not go yourself and try and use cookies to breed the birds. Didn't realize cookies were poisonous to the birds, and they died. It was as if I had, like, given them the potion effect, and my little birdies died. It was the saddest thing ever, and so I decided to make a little memorial for them, because I really wanted to have birds, but I can't because they're all dead. And that's about it for the zoo. Again, it's a very small looking zoo. It's not the cutest of things. If you have any suggestions for other animals I should get in there, I would love to hear it. I just love the way that it looks. This in the background, similar to the 100,000 blocks of dirt. As time went on, as I was clearing out a bunch of this area, because, well, yeah, you can see that hill up there. This little area was also like a little mountain. Well, no, I think over here was a mountain. Over there was a dark oak forest that I actually had to cover up. The landscaping this takes forever, so I got a ton of stone while I was doing it. And so my chests started to overflow. As we come over here, I've even gotten rid of some chests. All of these chests that are around this beacon were filled with stone. And so I realized, you know what, I have too much of it. So we built 100,000 blocks of stone. I don't actually remember what this one was called. Did I call it like Bertha or something like that? I believe we have Ronnie, and then this is meant to be a girl name. Oh, Gertrude! So we have Gertrude and Liltrude. That's right, I forgot about it. I wanted to give it a name that sounded like a 90-year-old woman, so I thought it was cute. It is beautiful. I think the dirt kind of looks a little ugly, especially since I put it in like a savanna biome. This just, I mean, it looks majestic. Right next to it, we also have a little volcano. This was actually meant to be a video, and I built the entire thing for a video. I did a great job doing it, and then I went to stop the recording, and turned out I never hit record. So, yeah, I feel bad. I wish this would have been a video, because it's such a beautiful build. It was just a blackstone volcano. And then, basically, the final thing that we have over here is the football stadium. Now, how did you get up here? Okay, good for you. I'm an American, so when I say football, I mean like the American version of football, not soccer. I love football. I didn't used to be a fan because I'm from St. Louis and not a big fan of what the Rams did, but I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan now. And so around the time that football season was starting in this might have been 2021 even, goodness. Around then, a bunch of people in my chat were like, hey, you should build a football stadium to commemorate it. I believe this is the second stadium that I ever built in my world, and it was the first one I ever did while I was streaming. These little names here, similar to how in my castle, I had the names of people who had donated. These were actually the first people to ever subscribe to me on Twitch, so big ups to you guys. And this one, I did a way better job of actually furnishing. So first and foremost, I think the seats of this area look... Oh, I guess I have the Gladiator Arena too. So technically, it's the third stadium that I've made. I love the seating design that I have, as well as we have actual seats and walkways that you can go in. So if you go through the main entrance, you would get to the seats, but I flew in here because I'm so proud of the player entrances. Both sides look exactly the same, so I'm only going to show off one. When you come in here, I made like a proper locker room for them. We have a little pool table right here where they can play. They can get dressed and ready for the game. We have the coach's office right there. We have a little media room right here that I love it. This little, they have little mics. This is probably the crappiest camera design that I have ever created. But like the media could sit here and they would film and all the press would sit here and interview them. Again, it's a very small thing, but it's like little details like that I love. And to get in here, you actually come through the back of this. This is where, if you're looking to buy a bunch of merch for the blue team, you come in here. Probably not the best idea that you can access the player entrance through the little merch area, but I love it. And then, like I said, yeah, there's, the entrance that you come in, stand here. Unlike the baseball stadium, I have no idea how you would play football in Minecraft. So this one really is just for show, but I thought it was beautiful. I still love the way that it turned out. Maybe you could use arrows as well. You would just shoot the arrow and somebody would have to catch it. Haven't really thought that through, but I love it. And then off to the side here, I just have a couple of one-off builds that I don't know how else to get to them. They're weird. I specifically waited for it to be nighttime because it looks beautiful when you come here at night. This is a mountain entirely covered in froglight. And funny enough, that amethyst mountain that I did is only like half the size of this. This took, I think, like 8 shulker boxes worth of, oh, wait, no, it was more than that. I don't remember how many shulker boxes. I know when I did the math, this is over 10,000 blocks of froglight. Took me forever to do. This is actually one of the more recent builds that I have done for a video. It's gorgeous. I love it. When you get close, it's an absolute eyesore. But from far away, it's just one of my favorite things to look at. And then as we come around here as well, let me see if I can find it. There's a little island just out here somewhere. If I can find it. Yes, there it is. There's a little island just out here somewhere where I built an amethyst axolotl. I love the axolotls. As you can see, I've made so many things for them. And I love doing statues. I think this was like the second or third statue after that original cow and the, after the golden chicken. I love it. I think it's beautiful. This is another one that I just free-handed. And then the inside is meant to be a little blue axolotl cult. So we have one blue axolotl on either side that are meant to be like guardians of the temple. And then, I'll let you figure out what happens in here. I don't really know. Originally, I was trying to make it like a little church or like a normal thing, and then it just went completely off the rails from that. So, yeah, I think it's fun. So all of this was like essentially the original part of the city. I spent like probably 6 or 8 months building up most of the city, and then I took a hiatus and I went and did some of the other random things, like the little 1.18 village that you saw. I built most of the city, and then I went and built that as a little offhand thing. So everywhere that you see over here is the original part of the city. As we head back this way, you'll start to see some of the newer stuff. So this right here is, I had mentioned it before, how I have a copper house. Right after copper came into the game, I don't know why, I was just enthralled with the idea that you could make an entire house out of it. Because, you know, like things like gold, I would love to make a house out of gold, but you don't have like little stairs, or you don't have, technically, I forget what these are called, like lightning rods. I use them essentially like iron bars, basically. I love how many different things that you can make out of it. So I made an entire, like, bougie house that has... Yeah, the bed is literally gold and iron. I wanted to make, like, the most expensive house that I could. So I made an entire house out of copper, furnished it with, like, diamonds and other richy stuff. And I also thought it was fancy because you can't tell now because it just will not oxidize. Yes, you can see sort of right here. I tried to do the trim out of ones that would oxidize, and then like the inner part out of stuff that wouldn't. So like this entire thing going all the way around. Yeah, basically, I don't know the difference between these two, but like this copper block isn't oxidized, or this copper block will oxidize, this one is waxed and will not. So eventually, as time goes on, there will be like a little green trim, as well as the same thing for like the roof and things like that. The outer part will oxidize eventually and will turn a greenish shade. I'm excited for that. It just takes forever and won't do it. I've been told, you know, if I ripped the house apart, I could get it to oxidize faster, but you know what? It's pretty enough as it is, and I don't think I need that. And then as we head over this way, this I will show off really quickly. It's a little town that I called St. Beans. I don't know why. After I put all of these like skyscrapers and stuff in place, I thought it would be beautiful to make like a little sunflower village. And originally I was going to cover the entire island in sunflowers. But then I thought, what's cuter than sunflowers? And that's having a windmill. So the first build that I made here was a windmill, and I literally constructed this entire area around it. It's a ton of little houses. I'm not going to show them all off. But what I will show off is, you're probably wondering, Tadpole, why the heck is it called St. Beans? And that is because as I was building this, I wanted to make a church, because when you see little villages like this, especially like in the olden days, there would always be like one little church on a hill that would be in charge of it. And for some reason, it became like an inside joke in my chat where like they just kept saying beans over and over again. And so to appease them, I decided, fine, the church would be called St. Beans. And it's a lovely little church. I love it. The church isn't like an actual joke. And I think I've mentioned this before. I'm Catholic, so like technically the official religion of the world is Catholicism. So each of these are like their own little churches like that. I also put like a little organ up here. You know, you just click buttons to play it, and a little area where you can sit up here. It was meant to be just like a little one-off thing. And since then, I don't know why, one of our mods, Lucifer, ironically named Lucifer, is the Pope of St. Beans, and it has blossomed into its own thing. I've made several churches for it since then, and yeah, St. Beans is its own thing. So the entire village is called like the little village of St. Beans. We have like a little animal farm over here with, I didn't want to make too big of a farm, so you know, it was only enough that it would actually feed the entire city. A bunch of little houses over here. I love that you can just see the rest of the city from it. Like, it's just ironic that you have this tiny little area that looks like it was straight out of the 1500s. And then in the background, you have massive skyscrapers. And in the middle here, we have Big Richie's School for Orderly Conduct and Etiquette. It's a guillotine. Or no, I guess it's not a guillotine. It's just a little public execution thing. It's wild. I don't know why we made things like that. And a bunch of little houses as well as you come over here. Over here, I actually started to put some, like, shop-type buildings, so we have another armory right there. I have a freaking Beans Vent Among Us Sussy Fortnite Travis Scott burger. I don't know why, but it's an Among Us statue. I was losing my marbles when I made that. And then probably my favorite thing about well, okay, aside from, like, some of the other things, the most useful aspect, I should say, of St. Beans is this is where all of my bees actually live. So for that golden bee statue that I showed you over there, where it had honey blocks just going off the side, obviously my little two honey things, or my two beehives over there, weren't going to suffice. So over here, I decided to put, like, a ton of these. It took me like a week and a half to get all of the honey that I needed for that. Funny, it's called the St. Beans Bee Ponzi Scheme, because, you know, as I get more bees, I make more hives and I get more bees. I love it. It's beautiful. I love the bees. I'm surprised they haven't run away more, but I think it's cute. And then that takes you off into the newer part of the city. Technically, this is like the only entrance that properly goes into St. Beans. I just fly around a bunch. So the newer part of the city, this was built, I think, within like the past, 6 months or something like that. I really got reinvigorated to finish the city because I wanted to, on the 8th birthday of the world, on March 27th of 2022, I wanted to start a new city, and I did. I'll show it off. But this was like when I really decided I wanted to finish it off. So we have a golden creeper, and if you've noticed all the gold statues that I have and the gold island, beneath that is where I actually made the gold farm. Not going to show it off because it's literally just a portal that turns on and off again. But that's how I got so much gold. And then over here is where I really started doing like newer designs. I love this part of the city. I think these skyscrapers, like this one, oh, it's beautiful. It's sort of a redesign. I did a 100 days video like a month ago or something like that, and I built this skyscraper in the 100 days world, and I thought it was so beautiful that I already had a skyscraper here. I literally tore the skyscraper down and put this one in its place because I thought it was so beautiful. I love it. It's one of my favorite ones that I've ever built. And we also have a little emerald sheep here on top of, this is a naturally spawning little woodland mansion. I think it's the only woodland mansion that I've ever found in the world. And it's also, like, that height down there is the original height of this area. I always have to show off the landscaping because people are like, how is it so flat? Or you want a super flat? No, I just spent, like, weeks at a time completely flattening this area out. So we flattened it out. This is just to remind me of, like, where it originally was. It's just a normal woodland mansion. I haven't done anything with it yet. Originally, I wanted to turn this into, since we have the parliament over there, I thought this could be, like, a separate government entity. I got too lazy, haven't done anything with it. I just love how it looks with like the emerald sheep on top of it, because that emerald sheep took so long as well, because I literally just got it from doing trades, and I was so stupid I forgot that you can't actually, or you can do trades with Fletchers. I was doing trades with farmers the entire time, so I got like 1,000 carrots to keep trading with him over and over again, and it was Spain without the S. And similar to how, like, on the corner of that part of the city, I started building some actual things. As we come out here, I only have 2, but I built 2 little things here that I thought would be, one is very useful, the other not even almost. This was my attempt at making, how did that bee get over here? This was an attempt at making a creeper farm. It does work. The creepers do kind of spawn. I looked up a tutorial on how to make it, and then, yeah, you can see I'm getting a ton of it from it. Originally, I thought I could just sort of eyeball it. Usually when I make like an automatic farm or a farm like that, I get the basic mechanic down, and then sort of figure it out from there. This one, I tried to wing it, and it did not work out well, so I ended up blowing up the whole thing. I think both of these were actually videos. I really want to cover it with something because this is such an eyesore, but yeah, nowadays with all the rockets that I have, I used to just have a ton of creepers that I would kill because I hate creepers, but nowadays if I ever want to make more, I just gotta go right there and I have a ton of it. And then this is one of the weirder builds that I made. This is a laboratory. I still haven't named it, so that's my own dome. I'll just call it the Tadpole Institute for now. It's a laboratory I made because, like I had said before, I'm a biology major, and I also did a bunch of research while I was getting the degree, and so because of that, I'm like, hey, I'm a scientist. I may as well come in here and make my own little science lab. So, sort of based off of some stuff that I saw on Dallas Med. Shout out to Dallas Med, love his world. Although technically mine is a few months older. I started mine in March of 2014. I think he started his in like June or July, so I always gotta brag about that, even though his world is way better. But I saw his world where he had his laboratory, and I thought it was so cool and decided to make my own version of it. So I have like a massive portal, because I figure they would probably want to investigate that, as well as the end crystals, because like they seem like they have infinite energy, so it would be cool. We also have a little room where they can investigate the blue buddies. They don't hurt them, I assure you. They just investigate them and look at them. They keep them safe. And yeah, this is where like they investigate the food for the blue buddies. And then over here we have like a little cold chamber where they can hold all of this stuff. We have a little nether area like this. I imagined it, if you've ever seen The Legend of Korra, how they have like spirit vines. I kind of thought of it like that. So like they'll shoot lasers at the vines to see if it does anything. Just sort of look at a little terrarium of the nether right there. I don't know, I thought it was neat. They also have like a little moss thing, because you know moss can spread over everywhere, so they had to contain it in this little room, and they sort of just investigate it. Yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. This was like one of the weirder projects. I don't know why, just like on a whim I decided to build this, and this is only like the second time. You saw the first modern build I made. This was like the second time I ever tried making a modern build. I thought it turned out lovely. And yeah, I don't know, this is sort of just like something I actually did in real life and thought I may as well bring it into this as well. And so with that, that's about everything that we have. And so with that, we'll start heading back. I believe there's only one thing left to show of the city, and I saved it for last because it's my absolutely favorite part. And I saved it for last because it is my absolute favorite part of it. And so with that, the last stuff we have to show off is this little area right here. Originally, the first thing is right there, but I'm actually going to show it last because it's my favorite part. This little town square, because I have that building right there, I thought I probably shouldn't put skyscrapers in this area because, you know, you want to be able to see it. And so instead, I decided to put like a little market. I completely gave up. These ones are not, you know, they don't sell anything. The original ones that I put in here, we have like a little shirt shop. We have, I don't know, like a seashell type thing. Sure, I don't know. I got bored and decided to figure out things like that. And so all of this was made just so that I could be in between that, as well as my little aquarium that I have here. So I had a little tiny aquarium at the zoo. This is where the proper aquarium is, and this one was specifically made, oh, I love this little entryway too, specifically made for my little blue buddies. Because I'm going to show off the 1,000 later, but I literally have 1,000 blue axolotls, and I don't know what to do with them. So I decided to make a little area where you could walk in. It's a little figure 8, so you can run everywhere that you want to go. We have a ton of tropical fish that took me forever to get in here. Like buckets at a time I would just bring in that swim around and get, you know, the blue buddies excited because they eat the tropical fish. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cute. This took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I came in here, just like blew a hole in the side of the mountain, and then just came in here and put little pieces in at a time. I think this alone took me like a week. I know it's tiny, but these little one-off projects I think are adorable, and they're some of my favorite that I have in the world. And then last but not least is the massive build that is my favorite in this entire area. It is, I believe it's called the Town Hall. It was made to be, you know, when you have the Parliament building, that is meant to pass like laws that govern the entire area, and, you know, it's meant to be, oh, city ordinances or things like that, or like certain skyscrapers can't be above a certain height. This is more meant to be for like day-to-day issues, which is ironic because I feel like the build, I mean, I just gotta fly up. The building is so beautiful to me. This one's meant to hold like day-to-day issues. So like if you have a dispute with your neighbor, you would come in here. And one side, I think this is the courtroom. One side is a courtroom and one side is like a city hall. Yeah, this is meant to be a courtroom. So if somebody got like murdered or there was like an actual issue, you would go to that courtroom. But if you had like a traffic ticket, which I don't know how you would get a traffic ticket because we don't have cars, but something minor like that, you would come in here and your court case would be heard probably by me because I'm always the king. You would sit up there, plead your case, and this one they would only ever hand out fines. You're not actually going to jail if you do something wrong here. And then on the other side, so that's if there's like punitive issues. If you just want to get something passed that says like, oh, you know, we want to pass a national tadpole holiday, you would come to the city council meeting, and this is where they would decide just things that do not matter. I mean, a lot of city councils just pick random things to pick, or to pass laws about. So that's what this would be. It doesn't serve much of a purpose because I'm the only one here, so if I ever have an issue, I can figure it out myself. But I mean, look at this entryway. I think it's beautiful. This building I actually didn't look up any design for. I like freehanded this entire thing. I am amazed that I was able to come up with something like this. It is my favorite building that I have in this entire area, and I am so proud of it. So with that, I'll do one last quick flyover. All of that is a city that I have built in the last like year and a half, 2.5 years. So I'll do one... So to finish off, I'll do one quick flyover of everything as well. This entire build... So to finish off, I'll do one last quick flyover over... So to finish off, I'll do one last quick little flyover just so that you can get your bearings of it. This entire city was built in the last 2 years. It is by far my biggest one to date. I absolutely love it. I may have forgotten a few other things. I've done a tour of this city specifically before, so if you want to go see that, I may have left out a few things here and there, but I love it. It's my favorite. Feel free if you want to steal any of these designs to build in your own world. I always love seeing people who do that. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll come back at some point. Like, I don't like that the mountains are kind of barren and I didn't put anything on them. So maybe I'll come back and do things like that if you guys think it's a good idea. And so with that, that will do it for everything that is to the north of the city. I'm just going to fly back because it's way quicker to do it this way. Everything that we just went through, so we just came in, this is like east of the city. Everything that I just showed off was over that way. That was to the north, and then that last city is northeast of my city. Now we are going to head over to the west. To my knowledge, we only have one thing over in this direction, and that is a separate little village that I made. I did it a few years ago. It was the only, like, full series that I have done on this channel that I ever actually finished. It was a series that I did called Running Away. Now, before I did, like, any of the separate cities, even before I think I had the spawn city, I was starting to get bored of my original area, and so I decided, I came through here, set up a portal, and we just went and figured out where we were going from there. And it spawned me in this little area. And that is, currently, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's not actually right here. I ended up building it over off in that direction, but I have a lovely little thing that'll bring you over right here. So when I first started off this area, I literally came through, made this ender chest, put, like, all of my armor and tools and things in that chest, and I was off. So yeah, you can see, like, I had a wooden shovel, a few other things. I literally had to start everything from scratch, and I rebuilt and made an entire little village that I lived in for... Ooh, I think the better part of, like, a few months. I ended up going back and forth between that and my other things. However, I was basically most of the pandemic that I spent, like, you know, early 2020 when we were all stuck inside. I think I started it technically in 2019, but I completely abandoned it because I liked the rest of my city. And for most of the pandemic, or most of the early pandemic, I ended up spending it in this little village here. So we'll take the iceway that will head over to it, and it'll bring you up right about... Oh, shoot, I need to break that. It'll bring you up right here in, like, the heart of this area. So when you come right up, you will notice this has a decidedly, like, old-timey theme to it. You'll also notice that it looks very similar to, like, the St. Beans area that I showed off before. This came, like, years before St. Beans. I just thought that, like... St. Beans is basically like a knockoff of this because I love the way that this looked. So, I'm going to do a full tour of this as well. I have done a tour of this on its own, I think a few years ago, like right after I finished it. So, if I leave anything out, I've done tours of like a lot of individual areas. Feel free to go check those out if you think you're missing anything. But I think we'll start over here at the wall. Yeah, so it's a little disconjointed. If you actually joined in and like you didn't have a elytra to fly over here or didn't take that little pathway, like when I first started, it's right out, I can't show it, it's past those trees a little ways. Right out that way is where the portal is, and so you would walk through this way, and your first little actual sight of it would be this lovely little gateway. It looks very similar to the gateway that I have at spawn. This was, again, one that I actually made before I made that gateway at spawn, because, I mean, it's just gorgeous. But you come in, I think, a little bit of rules. Yeah, like originally when I first made this area, you weren't allowed to like keep, like everything that I have on me right now would technically be illegal. When you came through here, you had to drop all of your stuff and you were supposed to start anew. These are all the people that have joined in. Shout out to everybody that has come to see my little area. When you first walk in here, you will see I have an adorable little pond that was here. I believe it was like a really tiny pond, and then I ended up completely like changing, I don't want to say deforming, but I completely changed that the way that this looked. This is like the first ever pond, because this is exactly what I was talking about when I said that like the drowns would just spawn and then walk out onto land. I had to completely light this area up, as well as over here you'll see we have a little river. The drowns would spawn, and that's why I have glowstone in here as well. They would spawn and just crawl out of the river to come fight us, so that's why I ended up putting all these berry bushes in place. But when you first come in, we have a cute little church here. I don't think it has its own little name, does it? Oh, it does. Okay, it's called St. John's Catholic Church. Like I said, I'm Catholic, so all the churches are. It's a tiny little church where, you know, it's not as fancy as some of the other ones that I had made, but it's meant to be for a small town anyway. And then when you come in, we have our massive cow farm. I think this is the largest cow farm I have ever made. This one, I mean, like, if I ever need food, I can come in here. Obviously, yeah, my wheat has taken quite a hit off of doing this, but you would just breed them, and you could kill like 2 stacks at a time, and you would barely make a dent on them. But we have a bunch of little houses over there. I'm not going to show off each of the individual houses because they were done, some of them during like live streams, or I would build them and then name them after somebody who commented on the videos. And I think I had said this before, the entirety of building this is on YouTube. I have like an entire playlist of it if you want to see it for some reason. But we have my little farm right here. Salbert came in and decided to build her own little farm here as well. And I love the design of this little stable. I think it's very cute. Hate these guys, so we're going to ignore them. Over here, as we come through this way, this was like the last addition to it. And this is why I have that separate portal over here that I have to fly to. I didn't realize that if I just built a portal over here, this connects up to that same portal over there. I can go in it to get back, but if I go back through the portal, it takes me back over there. If you know how to fix that, I would appreciate it, because this is like the most annoying thing in the world. I wish the portal was right there, because that would be so much easier than having to fly over. But yeah, this is basically like a little residential area that has all of the little townhouses. I have a little tower there. It was meant to be sort of like a fortified area. I envisioned, that's why we have walls going all the way around as well. I envisioned that this would be like a sort of area, like a refuge from all of the mobs and things like that for the little townspeople. It's also by far the biggest, like, you know, wall to keep in houses that I have ever built. We have this beautiful little ravine here. I think it's called Comic Cavern, something like that. Yes, oh, Comedy Cavern. I was close. It's the Comedy Cavern. After somebody who gave me the idea to completely cover this in glass. I think it's beautiful. Our mine is down there. It's a very basic mine, so I'm not even going to show it off. But yeah, we have these little rivers that go basically everywhere throughout here. And this is how you can tell there was a little river that came in here, and that wall is completely what blocked it off. So like if you came over here, you could see that you can actually go through the wall. If you were on a boat, you could still ride through our little town while you were on boats. That's why these boats are here, because people did actually used to do that. But it was meant to be like as secluded as I could get it. So all of the houses and stuff are over on this area, and you will notice my house right here is also a very particular one. It's the exact same design that I used for my copper house. It's the one that I live out of. We also have, I don't know if I showed it off, this little flag. I thought I was 5,000 IQ. I had never made like proper banners before. Like the banners that I had in WCPM Tower, I didn't actually make those. Other people made them for me. And so I came up with this little design for the area of Tadshire, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was nice. We have some of the stuff that I got. Like this is how many diamonds I was able to get in the entirety of that time, on top of... Oh, I guess I don't still have it here. I used to keep my diamond armor just sitting around in here in case I ever came back. We have a cute little thing with, you know, like and subscribe the sheep. And then, yeah, this is where I mean, I really went to town trying to enchant everything as best as I could. Since then, obviously, I have, you know, my netherite armor back, so I don't have to worry about it. But in that time, I went hard doing as many enchantments as I could. And which is ironic because we don't actually have an XP farm over here. So I'm not sure where I got all of that XP. Maybe from just killing the drowns that crawled out of the river. And then as you come over here, we have a cute little horse stable over here. I tried for the first time in my world. We had made a... Like, I had tried for the first time in my world with these horses to get the fastest one that I possibly could. Obviously, I have a horse stable back at my other house. Those were just random horses that I had sitting around that I liked. These ones, I literally came up over here, and I would get 2 of them, and I would, before I had all these buildings in place, I would literally just run in a straight line with them to try and figure out which one was the fastest, and then I kept breeding those with the fastest of their kids. So these are some of the fastest horses that I've ever had. Like, let's see, Artemis, I think, is a bit of a... speed demon? Nope, never mind. I don't know what I'm saying. I guess they're not that fast after all. I just thought, you know, for a little area like this, they would probably need a bunch of horses or use a bunch of horses. So these guys I actually have used quite a bit. Anytime I was like running around this area and wanted to do it fast because I, you know, dropped my elytra off, I would run around on these guys, and it was great. This is like a little village. I think we have, what's this, lumen stuff? Yeah, similar to how my my little shopping district that I made in Tended Groves has like a bunch of little shops that each sell their own little individual thing. I basically have the same thing here, except these were much more of a joke. Like we literally have, yeah, literally just sand that only sells sand. We have a drip shop that sells Richie Rich stuff, except I also completely flooded the roof of this with water, so like it's actually dripping. It was a bunch of very stupid things. Yeah, most of these are basically jokes. There's not a whole lot to show about them. A few of the things that I am proud of, though, are like this little statue right here. I absolutely love. I feel like I saw a picture of it on like Google Images or something. I apologize if I stole somebody's design and I just don't know who to credit right now. But it's a gorgeous design that I love for like a little statue because... And I love also how I made it look all like cracked and old like that. Beautiful. I love it that like when you walk into the town square, this is the first thing that you see. Over here, I also have, for each of these things, like we have a sheriff's station. We have, I don't even remember what that was, but I know it's like a cult type building. Well, we have a bank here as well. I forgot about that too. For each of these individual buildings though, I think pretty much, how do I get in? I think all of them were done as like an episode on a video. Yeah, here we go. Bank employees only. This is like the fanciest bank I have ever actually created. It was meant to like juke people. So like you'd walk in, I built this lovely little tunnel over here that leads over to a little vault. And this was meant to like throw people off. You'd see this, you would like come to rob that stuff. Again, I'm a very paranoid individual. But in actuality, if you wanted to come like properly rob the bank, you would break that. and then all of the diamonds would actually be held in here. Now, I don't know who these diamonds were held for, because for the most part, I was the only one who did pretty much this entire village. I did have a little bit of help, because this was back when I did used to let people, like, actually join the world from time to time. So, like, I had some help with, like, the sheriff's station somebody helped me with. And I just thought it was cute, and in case you do see any individual thing here, I have all of the episodes written out here, so if you want to go watch it, they're all on my channel, feel free to. And then I think my favorite part to finish up on this as well is this little tower that we made here. Now, you'll probably notice I've remade this tower design several times, in various places in my world. Yeah, Tadshire Tower. It is the only, like, tower building, and we have like a little metal detector to make sure nobody comes in here to break any rules. This is like the only tower type thing that we have in the area. If I make anywhere, I've got to make at least one tall building. And we furnished each of the floors. Yeah, you can see like we hold a bunch of our gold and stuff like that. And then up at the top, it was meant to have, like, meetings between the elders if they ever needed to figure anything out. And from up here, you can look out over the entire little village. I love it. It's a beautiful little one-off project. I think this took me, in total, maybe, like, 3 months to create an area like this. Absolutely gorgeous, and it would have taken much less time if I had just kept all my tools. If you have a world that you've been playing for a long time and you want to keep yourself from getting bored, because I get asked so often, like, how do you keep yourself from getting bored and how do you keep playing? I love doing little projects like this where, you know, you go off. I think WadZ did one recently too, where you just drop all your stuff off and come to a little village like this where you can build to your heart's content, and it just feels like OG Minecraft. Oh, and I also don't know if I showed off, this is one of the only places where I've made like a proper room for the portal to be in. Actually, no, I've done a few more recently, but I love this little room. I think it's adorable. It annoys me to no end the fact that the entryway is 2 wide while the hallway is 3 wide. That's just something I have to deal with nowadays, but I thought it was beautiful. Now, sadly, that's the only thing that we actually have to the west of the city. The bulk of everything that I've built, or I guess the bulk of the nether portals that we have, are going to be to the south of the city. So, like, Tended Groves, Rexington, the 1.18 area, all to the north. Tadshire is over to the west. The east doesn't have much of anything. I literally don't even have a walkway. And the rest of the stuff that I'm going to be showing off is going to be to the south of my city. So to finish off with the southern things, I think the first place we ought to go to is actually the first country that was ever created aside from my own, and that is Tyland. Funny enough, it looks like a gas broke it, so I actually had to come back and get into flint and steel. But let's head off to Tyland. Now, when I say Tyland, the first thing you're probably thinking is the country like Thai land. It's not actually spelled like that. It's spelled Ty because my friend's name is Ty. And like I said, this is the first of all of the separate countries that we ever made. And for a little bit of context as well, it is incredibly close to my city. In the old Xbox One days of the world, despite the fact that it looks really close right now, the world didn't expand that much further than the Xbox 360 edition. So this is like my prison and the original spawn area, and you probably saw it in the background while I was coming to show this off. It's actually really close to where my other stuff is, but I always love taking it through the nether. I think the coolest part of Tyland is the most obvious when you first fly over here, and this is meant to be the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. This country was made, like I said, by my friend Ty. That's why it's called Tyland. And he is a big Star Wars fan. We love the prequels. And so one day when we were watching it, or he was watching it or something, he suggested that we make our own little Jedi Temple. And it's a bit of an eyesore on the inside. We really don't know what to do inside of it because, you know, how much can you do? Oh, I didn't know that it had a little elevator. Oh, fancy. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have much on the inside. I didn't actually realize that he did multiple floors. I only helped out with the first floor. This is essentially what it looked like before. It was just a dark, empty room that had a whole lot of nothing. But this is actually like one of the only really cool designs that I've seen outside of my own city. I love it. It's beautiful. It just doesn't serve much of a purpose. I think especially from above, like when I'm flying over it, I just love the way that that looks. This thing that we're standing on right now is, you guessed it, another little watch post tower, because when he first created this area, he was the first one to come up with the rules that if you wanted to go to like somebody else's country, you had to drop all of your stuff off. He was sick and tired of the fact that we all had, you know, elytra, diamond armor, things like that. And so he said when you came to his country, you had to put all of it in a chest. You couldn't bring it with you. And so that's why, like, at this minecart thing right here, which will take you off to my city, we have this watchtower right here just so that you can put everything away, because he was very strict about about it. If you came over here with any of your old stuff, he was not a fan. For the most part, his country only has a few little houses to it. This is my little house that I created, which, given the fact that there's sea lantern on it, I think you can tell I broke the rules and made my own little area. He also has his own little house up here, and just like I had in Rexington, I also have them in like Flyerville, Salbia. All of the other separate countries that we have their own gift of a little axolotl, the same way that I had shown before. But his little house is up here. I haven't been in it too often. I mean, I guess I'm the only one who goes in it much anymore. Originally, it was just like this little room right here. And then over time, as he was working on it, he expanded it out this way. And I just love this little view that he has over here. I don't know. I love snowy biomes, and I just love coming over here to see stuff like that. He was also the one who, like, did most of the mapping stuff. And so he decided to make this neat little design where he would put, I think it's just like a little corner map of it, but it looks neat when you have it all together like that. If we come up this way, he also has another little house here. Basically, all of us who were his friends, he would allow to come over here and build our own houses, but he didn't want much else. And so I decided to break his one and only rule, and I of course had to build a skyscraper on the opposite side of the island. So all of his stuff is over there, and so he allowed me to make my own embassy. Because we're separate countries, like I said, you'd have to have like a passport technically to get from one to the other. So he allowed me to have an embassy of my country, and because I love skyscrapers, I had to build mine as my own little skyscraper. And I also love farming, as I had mentioned before, so I built literally the only farm that he has in his entire country. When we were living like over there, we would literally have to swim over this way to come get our own food if we wanted to eat, which I thought was hilarious. And then if you came in here, this was my embassy. Now, despite the fact that I have the house over here, I pretty much only lived out of this thing. I had a little basement down here where you could like enchant things. I loved the view of like this little river. Oh, and you can see the amethyst axolotl as well. Some of this stuff is a lot closer than I remember it being. But the fun part that I want to show off about this is this part right here. So because this is my own embassy, what we're standing on is technically my property and not his. I know that doesn't sound like much because it's literally Minecraft, but we treated it like an actual government. So I literally ended up having like political asylum seekers down here. My friend Cheezer came over here, and Ty did not want him over here, so he wasn't allowed to actually step foot on Tyland. He had to fly into my building, and then he literally lived out of my basement down here. Like pretty much everything you see here, either I gave him or he went and mined himself. Yeah, like this was his armor, not mine. He literally lived in my basement for a while, and I don't know if it was still connected. For a while here, he would like mine it out. Oh, he got all the way down to bedrock. Okay. For a while here, he mined it out to, yeah, like this is where he went. He would mine it out and went to like go underneath Ty's house, and he went there to try and steal stuff because he was annoyed that Ty didn't want him being here. It became like an entire fight. I actually got banished from Thailand for a little while because I allowed them to live in my embassy, and yeah, I don't know. It was stuff like that. I mean, I just love little Minecraft stories like that where I literally created his own country for him and then got banished from said country because I allowed other people in. Most of the floors, like all of my skyscrapers, are empty, except at the very top. This was one of the few meeting rooms that we've actually used quite a few times. When my friends came over here and Ty was furious at them, we met up at the top of this table and tried to talk it out to figure out, you know, how they might be allowed to go around and make their own houses. Eventually, Ty completely disallowed it and threw them off of a building, so it didn't go very well, but, you know, I tried to be the little mediator of this area. And yeah, not much of a country. He doesn't have a whole lot because, you know, he just doesn't play Minecraft as much as I do. But this was the first ever country that we have in my world, and it's always just so nostalgic to go here because it reminds me of the early days of the world. Like a house like this, I never would have built anything like that because it just doesn't have a roof. But reminds me of the olden days. So if we come on back through the portal, all of this again is still to the south of my city. This is over to the southeast. Now we're going to head a little bit southwest for a second. This is the, I guess it would have been, it's the most recent of like the separate countries that we had made. I have a friend, Philip, he goes by Flyers on here, that I've known since like elementary school, and he felt really bad because the way I gave out all of the countries in my world was people who had played on the world first, or that I had like known the longest, got their countries the earliest. That's why Ty had the first one, and then Gnarly. Philip ended up getting the last of them, and so he was annoyed, so he came through and he built his own country. And I believe Philip and Gnarly are the only two who have ever built a country and have since had their ownership of it rescinded. Gnarly gave up his country willingly. Flyer, I ended up having to take it from him for reasons I'll show you in just a second. So when you first come through the portal, you will notice that this is by far the most built up of any of the individual countries that we have made. And the reason for that is I've built pretty much everything that you see in this little colony. Also, the reason that you're going to see like these American flags everywhere is because I created this little colony for him. And as I had mentioned before, he doesn't actually own it anymore. For reasons I'll get into, because you'll see I built literally everything. He had told me time and time again how this was his country, he owned it all. And I built some stuff for him, and then he claimed he had built it. So out of spite, I came through here and I colonized this area. So I technically own this now. It's not even my friend's anymore. I think it was originally called Flyerville because his name was Flyer. And now it is called the Tadpolian colony of Flyerville. So I don't know. I just think little things like that are funny. But when you first come in, you'll notice he similarly has a present. As I said, I've given everybody an axolotl. And then when you come up, probably the tallest and, like, most obvious building to me, at least, is this one right here. As I mentioned, in, like, every country that I make one embassy, which is my land, and I love to make skyscrapers for it. So I made this, and similar to in Thailand, I have the only farms in this world. These are all my sheep. And actually, the reason that they're these just ugly colors is because over there, I made a little Christmas village. I'll show that off in a second. It's technically not part of this country, but I love it. That's why I have all these, like, oddly colored sheep and stuff like that. Right next to it, though, the closest thing to the portal, and I built it here on purpose, is I made my own military base. And the reason I made the military base here was, as I said, when I came here and I decided that I was going to colonize this area, I realized, oh, I'd have to have a force that would come in here to do that. So I literally built up, we have an airfield right there. This is meant to be like a school, although I didn't actually finish it. It's going to be called the Taco Bell Institute of Education. We literally have tanks. This is like the most obvious part of it. We have tanks and things like that that'll just like run through the city and, you know, they're aiming towards other people's houses. So that's how you know we're here to colonize. Yeah, the military base kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really bad at building it, so I think we'll just skip most of that for the majority of it. As we come over here, this right here is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is like literally the reason that I decided to invade his country. And that is because it's called Patty's Palace. We built our own little casino. Now, I didn't furnish any of it because I suck at furnishing things, but this was meant to be a little casino. I was going to put some blue axolotls here in the middle. I was going to make some like roulette tables, areas to do like blackjack and things like that. But as soon as I built the exterior of this, my friend Flyer kept telling me how he owned this area. It was his, and I got so fed up with it, I completely abandoned the casino and started building the military base. But some of the older stuff that I made, because ironically, I started building out here. Well, I built the embassy, and then I started building out here and moving forward. We have a bunch of little houses that I created for his little village people, as well as one of my favorite things that I've built in this area, more than actually the embassy. After I decided that I was going to colonize and become the king of this area, I literally came in here and built my own castle. So we have, like, I don't even know who would live here. I've basically just decided that, like, canonically speaking, people that would come from my city might come and live in my little castle. I have a little inn that they can stay at. I have my own little horse stable, the only cow farm in all of his country so that they have, you know, enough food. If it's not obvious, I make cow farms like basically everywhere that I go, but it's an adorable little thing. I furnished almost none of it because, like I said, I'm absolutely terrible at furnishing things, so I just kind of give up on it. And then this entire little forest here was also man-made. I think it was like a tundra is the correct word. This entire area used to look like that, where it was just like completely flat, all snow, which made it incredibly easy to build. But I thought, you know, if we're gonna have a little village, it would look a lot nicer if I had trees. So I'm just gonna fly over them rather than, you know, get caught up in the middle of them. We came over here and I built my own little lumberjack yard. This was meant to be like his main export, if that makes sense. Because, you know, my export, I build cities, I build all sorts of things. Ty would let me do like mining and things like that. So we decided that, you know, Flyerville would be a main exporter of wood. So we created our own little sawmill here. I have an area where like they're cutting them down. I even made my own little like, I don't know if it's a backhoe or a tractor or a bulldozer, whatever it's called. I made my own little version of that looks kind of like a bug with the little antennas on it. And it would just look like, you know, they're out here doing that. It was meant to sort of look like Siberia. I should preface this by saying also, I built all of this before, like, all of the current stuff that's going on with Russia is. So please, I meant no offense by it. It was just meant to be like a little joke that, you know, my friend Flyer wanted to come out here, have his own country, and we literally turned it into Siberia. And then sort of along those themes, we also made our own little prison yard. After he was talking smack, and once I had built the military base, I realized, what are we gonna do with Flyer himself? Because I can't just let him sit around and like pretend to be king anymore. So we literally built, we call it the gulags, but it's literally just like a little prison camp where he would come down here. He has since come in here and actually started mining. I gave him a pickaxe and he would start mining. And I said, like, if he got enough resources to build his house, I would like let him come out and go build his own area to live. Because literally all of the buildings here I own. I don't know, again, it seems a little crass that I would do that to him. He was talking mad smack, telling me how his country was better than all the rest, so I thought it was great to like try and put him in his place. And then to show you, because I said that like this is its own little area, all of this is like encased by the river. The river, even though it's frozen, is what separates like Flyerville from this little area right here. And this is, I don't know if I ever gave it a name. It's meant to just be a little Christmas village. So like last December, I spent most of the month building up this little area. It's meant to have like a little village where all the elves get to stay. We have presents. This one doesn't actually have blue axolotls in it. It's like the only one. But I wanted to fill this up with a bunch of presents and things like that. They had like a little cookie making area up there. And then obviously we have to have Santa's workshop. Now, it's not completely finished. I was supposed to put like a little bell type thing up at the top. I definitely tried to like steal the ideas off of the town hall building that you saw before, but this is Santa's little workshop. One of my mods, and I would like to call him a friend, Drumstick, absolutely hates elves for a reason I do not understand. Yeah, good elves don't ask questions, bad elves die. He wanted this to look like a really sadistic place. So, you know, they're making like sleds. Over here, they're just making little toys and gadgets. I guess the children are getting weapons, but that's fine. We have a little area over here where they'll take like clay and turn it into like little mugs or pots or whatever these are supposed to be with like a kiln. I don't know. I thought it was a really cute area. They also have their own little coal mine here because, you know, the bad elves have to go down into the mine. So they have to come down here, mine all the coal, bring it in. It was weird. Oh, wait, no, because it's Santa's workshop. This is meant to be for, like, the bad kids. I have such a bad memory. And then they also have the little pit, so if you're a bad elf, well, you know where you go. And then finally over here outside, we also have, like, Santa's sleigh. I don't know if the reindeer look any good. I couldn't find any good designs for them online, so I decided, yeah, we have Rudolph right there with his crimson nose. I don't know. I thought it was cute, meant to be for Santa. I just love little projects like these. I'm planning on doing one for Halloween as well. I would love to, like, for every holiday, just make a little village that sort of embodies what that holiday is all about, because I just think it's so cute. Yeah, that's about everything that we have just sitting around Flyerville, except technically it was meant to be its own little area. I do have one little thing that I tried to build over here. After I had finished a lot of it, after I had finished a lot of Tended Groves and I realized like I kind of wanted to get started on another city, I was trying to weigh my options for areas where I could build a new thing. So I decided I would come to the middle of the desert here and I built this. I think it's a gorgeous temple, but I have done almost nothing with it since. And I like to call it the Tuff Temple because it was built completely out of tuff. I think I did this right after I had covered the mountain in tuff because I love the way that the block looks. It's just like, it's a little boring and people don't get as excited for it as they do for like the amethyst blocks that everybody loves. Still pretty rare though. Over here I have a few blue axolotls over there because I have to have blue axolotls everywhere I go. And then I think my favorite thing about this is here is where I keep my herd of brown mushroom. Now, if you haven't followed me on Twitch or you've never seen anything like that over there, now, if you haven't followed me on Twitch or you don't know anything about it, I love brown mushrooms. As I said before, they're my favorite. If you take a normal mushroom and you get it like struck by lightning, that's how you get them brown, if you're wondering how you get something like this. On my Twitch channel, anybody who subscribes, which costs, I think, $5 a month, I have agreed to name a brown mushroom after. I'm a little bit behind, but you see a few of them are just named after people. I keep the herd here because, like, it would be a mess if I tried to take them anywhere else, but I absolutely love it. I also have, like, literally the only iron farm in my entire world, which is funny because, as you see, it's very tiny, and the iron golems get out all the time. This was meant to be like a new base of operations. We also have a little bit of a mine. It was meant to be a base of operations if I was going to make a new city. Like you saw in Tended Groves, I started it off there with my own little, essentially, pyramid type thing. And I thought it would be cool if we tried to do that again here. But clearly the landscape isn't very conducive to it. And because also this portal links up with the one over in Flyerville, it's just sort of a pain to get back and... it's just sort of a pain to get to and from that area, so I've kind of just neglected this area, but it is really beautiful, and I'm really happy with it. So both Tyland and Flyerville are relatively close to my main city because, you know, they just didn't want to have to run too far. For the last two areas that I'm going to show off, they are dummy far away, and that is why we have to take this ice bridge. So give me a few seconds while we head over there. So the second to last of the cities is all the way out here, and this is actually where I bred all of my 1,000 blue axolotls. Now, obviously not in the nether here. This was, I think it's the farthest area that we have from my main base, and it is called Salbia. Now, Salbia was made by my friend. Her name's Sally, but we all called her Salbert for some reason. This is like one of the only areas that was actually built by the person who took the country for their own. For the most part, when somebody makes a new country, I go over there and build a whole bunch of stuff for them. But to her credit, Salbert built up a lot of the stuff that's here. Again, we have a blue axolotl for her, and the reason that she gets one right here is, ironically, she has all of the blue axolotls in the world in her area. I don't know how laggy this is going to get. I assure you, it's actually more than 1,000 blue axolotls. After I got the first blue axolotl, I decided I just wanted to keep playing around with them. So right over there is the warm ocean where I got my original, like, buckets of tropical fish. And I just fed them, and fed them, and fed them, until we just have an unholy amount of blue axolotls. If you haven't seen those videos, they were a lot of fun, and I also constantly ask for names, because I haven't gotten anywhere near 1,000, so if you have any cool names for the little blue buddies, I'd love to hear them in the comments. But yeah, when Salbert made her own little country, to her credit, she actually built up her own little spawn area, and she has, it's such a quaint little castle. Like, this isn't a design that I think I would ever make, but it looks absolutely lovely. Originally, she used to have, like, a little roof on it, but she has since torn it out for a reason that I don't really know. She, to her credit, does, like, actually live here. And, like, when she plays in the world, she actually works on this. And she helped me get some of the blue axolotls. But she similarly told me that I also couldn't have skyscrapers. So I tried to make another little village. If it's not obvious, I absolutely love, like, dark oak and stone or cobblestone. So everywhere that I go, I make little houses like that. We have a little mine that I almost never use, as well as this is my main house that I've lived out of. Like, while I was getting the 1,000 blue axolotls, I would run back and forth to here. I don't know if I still have them here. I used to have, like, 1,000 not 1,000, but I used to have, like, 30 buckets. Oh, maybe not. I guess I took all of them out of here for something else. We used to have a ton of buckets here, and I used to even have a little... Oh, we still do have a little axolotl here. This was one of the first axolotls that I actually found in my world, and I thought he was cute, so he gets to live in that little pit. Again, though, just like a lot of the other countries, there isn't a ton built here just because, you know, when I have my city and I do so much of it, people just want their own little area where they can go to relax and do whatever they're doing, so that's about it for Salbia. And then the final area that we have in the overworld is right off to the side here. I tried to make it close to Salbia just because I love this little ice bridge. This is actually the newest city that I started in my world. Like I mentioned, I wanted to finish off Tended Groves before we had the 8th birthday of my world, and on the 8th birthday of my world, we came out to this little area, and I started a new city. So when you first spawn in, I like to think that I have the best castle in the world. I just love having castles because, like, I am the king. This is a design that I've actually done before, but never like this. I brought over a few little blue buddies. I swear to you, I put them absolutely everywhere. I have one little thing of them there, one over there. It's not the craziest of things. Like, I have a little chest room down here. I've only been working on this for a few months, so it's not, like, the best area in the world. Actually, funny enough, most of these chests are actually empty. I just put a ton of them in there so that I could use them for later. This is where I have my second herd of brown mushrooms because I didn't want to have to travel back and forth to Flyerville to keep naming them. So if you ever subscribe on Twitch, one of these is probably getting named after you. And then if we come on up here, there isn't a ton to show off in this area, so I'm literally just going to have to fly around to see everything. I made my beautiful little boat here. This was one I did on stream, so it didn't end up being a video. Apparently, people think it looks terrible. You can let me know if you like it. I'm terrible at building boats in general, so I kind of just grabbed a bunch of wood and freehanded this little design. I think it turned out nice. I thought it was very cute, but who knows? People tell me it sits too high in the water, but it doesn't really have a backstory or anything like that. I just thought it looked neat. As we head over here, you will also see... Like I said, I gotta fly around from thing to thing. This is where I've made my first ever, like, real bee sanctuary. All the other bees in the world basically exist to make me, like, honey or wax or things like that. This is an area that I made literally just for the bees to sit around and do whatever they want. I believe a few of them died by flying into the fire over there, so I've tried to keep things to a minimal. It was meant to be just like a quaint little home where they could come in. It's supposed to be super peaceful. They get to fly around, enjoy all their things. I don't know. I like it. It's kind of like you know how they have at a lot of zoos and things like that, they'll have a little butterfly house. It was meant to be something like that where they could come in here, be as peaceful as they want. They don't have to fight anybody. They just get to be bees. And then right around here, I actually tried to turn this into a video and then just completely forgot about it. I built my own little floating island. That was a video I had seen by WadZ where he had made his own floating island. I thought it was beautiful, but then I thought, you know, I could do a better job of it. So, stupidly, I brought some brown mushrooms up here. If you ever make a floating island, don't do this, or at least, like, capture them in place, because you'll notice they're almost all babies. I have bred them up so many times, but for some reason, they always just walk off the edge. Yeah, you can see a dead one's things right there, like, just on the ground. They just keep walking off the edge and dying for some reason. I just love this thing because it gives you a great vantage point of all of the stuff that we have in the city. So, like, over here, I started building a little village as well. If it's not obvious, I love making these areas where I have just a ton of tiny houses that, you know, go around. Because, I don't know, to me, that's more of a village than, like, the cities. And I also, maybe I just don't know how to make a normal house. I know how to make these, like, really tiny shaped ones that are just cute. I don't furnish, like, any of them because I'm stupid and it would be too expensive, but I think it's adorable. And across this bridge, one of like the last things we actually have in this area is a little farm island. Now, it probably doesn't look that impressive. Maybe you like it. Maybe you do think it's impressive. This was its own little island, and when I first started off that area, I was like struggling to get food. I would literally just run around, and like if there was a cow, I would just go kill him to get my meal. So then I made up this entire island, so I don't technically have to kill the animals, but I mean, come on, meat is so much better for saturation. I tried to make it like a little, like, three-sided thing, so we have the wheat over here, we have the carrots over here, and then out back, it's just a whole bunch of potatoes. So, if you ever need food, feel free to come on over. It doesn't serve much of a purpose. I don't actually farm it very often, because, well, as you can imagine, if I farm this once, I don't need to farm it again for another month, so I'm essentially fine. I just love the way it looks, and it also has that same house that I made from my little 1.18 area. I think it's just so cute. It's a lovely, adorable little house that's, like, overgrown a little. And I just like it that, you know, it sort of juxtaposes the big open farm area with one tiny little house. And with this, that is essentially everything that we have built in the overworld thus far. So I think it's only fitting to end this video in the end. And actually, to get back to the end, we have to come back to my main city right here. And that is because my end portal is actually directly under the statue of me. It's also where I have my XP farm. It sounds really condensed, but you've got to remember on the original Xbox 360 size world, like what I'm looking at right now was like a fourth of the entire world size. So things were really condensed. I love the way that that works because, you know, I hate on new worlds now. I have to fly away like hundreds of blocks away, if not thousands, in order to find the portal. Right here, I just go like, you know, 100 blocks from my castle and it's right here. So the way it works is you just come in here. I've redone this like 4 or 5 times, so if I get a little lost, my apologies. You essentially just come down this little staircase here, and it leads straight into my little stronghold. Oh, that's right, yeah, to keep myself from getting confused, I even made, like, the blackstone brick pathway to get over there. I said I wouldn't show it off earlier, but I will show it off very briefly for any of you that care. This down here is actually where my XP farm is. This is like that little ice tunnel that I'd shown you before. That leads right over to my castle. I essentially just sit down here, you know, kill skeletons left and right. Ironically, this wasn't actually a skeleton farm when I first created it. Originally, it was a zombie spawner, and then for some reason, through the updates, it has turned into a skeleton one. Not really sure how that happens, but not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. But yeah, it leads right next to my stronghold, and if you come on in through here, it'll lead you right over to my end portal. Now, this is an absolute monstrosity. I hate the way that this looks. I'll probably try and redesign it at some point, but you know what? It gets the job done. And it leads straight into the end. Now, originally when I had done this on the Xbox 360 sized world, before they allowed you to reset the end entirely, I actually covered this entire thing in water so that no Enderman would spawn. And then I used to have like a little ender that was right up here. I missed that thing so much. It wasn't terribly efficient. It was just like a great way to get a bunch of ender pearls. Now if I want to get them, I actually have to kill these guys, which I do need because... Oh, where'd he go? I do actually need, because we're going to be going through some of the end gateways, because as you can see, this area has been absolutely ravaged by the dragon. Like you can see right here, I tried to build my own little skyscraper in the end, and clearly the dragon has had her way with it. So originally I tried to build a few things on this island, but I realized if I want to keep fighting the dragon, that just can't occur. So I ended up going through these end gateways over here to build some stuff. And this was actually done within like the past couple weeks or so. I decided, you know, because I have so many cities in the overworld, why not build one in the end? Now, like I said, I did this entire thing for a video, so like if you really want to see it, feel free to like skip around on my channel. It's nothing too crazy, it's just a few skyscrapers, and I covered the entire area in dirt. Funny enough, covering it in dirt took way longer than like anything else actually did. It's beautiful, I love it, a bunch of skyscrapers. Like I just feel like this looks like a normal city would look at nighttime, so that's why I love it. But more importantly, the reason I wanted to show this off, because this was so recent, I actually kept working on it on my Twitch channel, and I built this little area over here. Now, like I said, I've built quite a few stadiums, and you've seen them before. I've done a baseball stadium, football stadium, and a little fighting arena, but I'm not a huge fan of basketball, but I know a lot of my friends and things like that are, so they decided they wanted me to make my own little arena, and I think it's, yeah, Endless Arena. I love it. You come in here, I've never built basketball things before, I've never really played basketball in my life, so I was kind of just playing it by ear, and as you can see, it's still a work in progress, that's why this stuff's still here, but I love it. It's this little, you know, like basketball thing, and we also have like the entire center of it open. We have a few little shops that go all the way around. They don't really do much of anything. They're just, yeah, like Yeti's snow cone cave. They don't really do much of anything. I haven't furnished them or anything like that. They're kind of just stand-ins. I will come back here to finish it later. I haven't even put in the locker rooms yet because I got bored and didn't know how to do that, so it's sort of just an empty area, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I also love this bridge that I made across the void. I'm not, like, great at infrastructure usually, but this bridge is gorgeous and I can't get enough of it. I just think it's neat, and, you know, have you ever seen a basketball arena in the end? And then coming back to the main island, I don't actually remember which one it was, so we may have to jump around here a little bit. I have gone through 2 others and built a few things as well. Yes, here's the one that I wanted to show off. Okay, so through this gateway, this is one of my favorite little one-off projects. This one only took like 3 days. It really wasn't that bad at all. I love the way that, like, I don't know, for me at least, I imagine that the end is essentially space, and so I thought it would be cool to make my own little space station up here, as if I were, like, on the moon. So we made this adorable little space pod right here that I'll have to use to actually get back out of it, but yeah, it was bedrock, so I couldn't really incorporate it into much of a build, so I basically covered it up. I feel like that looks like a moon lander, but maybe you disagree. But anyway, when you get in here, it's the Intergalactic Embassy of Astral Prime. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we call this entire little space area Astral Prime. We have your little suits if you want to go for a spacewalk. And then just going piece by piece. Over here we have, this is meant to be sort of like a command center control area where these are kind of supposed to be like computers that they would look at. They also have an area down here that's literally just meant for storage. I don't even think it holds anything. No, because I didn't bring much of anything over here to the end. But this is like the command center. If you come over this way, we have the sustainability area where they can come in and get all of the food that they need. It looks like a really small farm, but really while I was building it, I ate only this stuff. It worked out quite well. And it's just, I mean, I love that, like, walking through here, you just look off into the void everywhere that you go. Coming back to the main pod, if you head over this way, these are probably the most expensive part about it. The James Strangey Axolotl Research Center. Yeah. So, for all of the research that we do about axolotls, I thought it would be cool, like, on the International Space Station, they do research on, like, birds and insects and things. So I thought, you know, why not research the little blue buddies? So they get to be here up in space along with me. Over here, this is just sort of like a living quarters type area where, like, they can make their meals here, sit down, have a chat. They also have their spacesuits here in case, there's a lot of areas where they could, like, go for a spacewalk. So if you're out on, like, the little moon area, we have a little research station that they can go to. We also have on the outside, I think they're over here. Yeah, we made little, like, power station type things meant to be, like, I don't know, nuclear energy or something like that that you wouldn't want to get a hold of. So it's all the way out here, and they have, like, power lines that lead into the building. I'm just going to break through because I'm too lazy to walk around. In this little pod, this is also meant to be sort of a command station. This was more so meant to be, like, communication with Earth. This was more so meant to be like communication with Earth, so they would have like microphones and buttons so that they could communicate, you know, if you wanted to get back down to the overworld, they could talk. This was supposed to be like a little map type thing that would, I don't know, hologram or project or something like that. So the other one was more so like for communication in space. This is more so for communication to the ground. And yeah, I don't know, it's not the most practical of builds. I think it's just a lovely little area that, you know, when I envision, like, you think the International Space Station or, like, you know, a pod for a colony that they would make on, like, Mars or something like that, this is exactly what I would envision. And then last but not least, we have quite possibly the most expensive build I have ever done. Not for the actual build itself, but for what it cost me. And this is the Calcite Island. Now, you will notice it is not completely finished. The reason for that, and the reason that it's the most expensive build I've ever made, if you haven't seen, like, my TikTok, I died falling onto the void off of this thing twice, and lost absolutely everything that I had. It was so... Oh, I hated that. It was absolute Spain without the S, but I love the building. Calcite is such a beautiful block that I feel like just doesn't get used enough. Like, to me, it just looks like marble. And so I decided to come here, and I tried to cover... We got the entire top covered in calcite, so I think it turned out really pretty. But as I was trying to do the sides, you know, I put the water in place, hoping that I wouldn't fall off to my death. And that didn't end up working out, and I died twice. Lost absolutely everything. I screamed like a banshee, but we had fun. Again, that was another video that I made on my channel. If you care to hear me screaming about it, feel free to go watch it. And with that, I think we're officially done with the tour of my 8-year-old Minecraft survival world. Fellas, I want to thank you all so much for being here, especially for all of you who made it all the way to the end. If you went on and enjoyed the video, I would love it if you left a like, and I'm gonna keep playing on this world, so if you want to stick around and subscribe, it would absolutely warm my heart. If you have any cool suggestions, please leave them down below, or feel free to reach out to me on any of my other social media. It's all linked down below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.